Ready? YouTube voices, everybody. YouTube faces. Okay, here we go. Hello and welcome. It is, what day is it today even? Something 22nd. Was it April 22nd? Wow, it was my dad's birthday 2 days ago. Blaze it. TheoryCraft episode 14 is Night Elf week, Night Elf day, Night Elf hour, Night Elf afternoon, evening if you're in Europe. Last week we did community replay review, which was a lot of fun. It's nice because it kind of gives me an opportunity those days to do unorthodox strategies, and it's up to you guys what you want to see. If you want to submit a specific replay with a specific strategy, then you get to see it on stream. We get to talk about it amongst each other, myself and you guys included in the chat and in the comments on YouTube, all that stuff. So it's kind of cool because all the time on Discord and emails, I get people asking me questions like, oh, can you do this sort of a strategy? And then I have to tell them, well, look, I can only do it if there's professional replays for me to go over, because I can't, do an analysis of myself playing or someone around my skill playing. I need to do it of professionals. So this community replay review day that we have once a month is an opportunity for if you guys want to see something specific. For instance, somebody wanted to see Paladin against Undead, so they just played Paladin against Undead and submitted that replay to me, which was really cool to see. So more of that stuff, please. If you guys want to see some sort of a fancy strategy, some weird cheese you think might be good, you want to hear my opinion on it, or just present it to the class, it's really a really good opportunity to do so. So I encourage you guys to all do that in the future for next month. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. And we're starting to see some familiar faces. People are showing up every time, so I appreciate that. Guys. This might be a really long episode. It might be a really, really long episode. But for starters, can you see me and hear me all right? Is everything all good? We got a lot to get through today. We're going to do 5 replays. I got a bit of a story to tell at the beginning, and we're gonna build up to it. It's gonna take a while, but how's everyone in the chat? Thank you. All good. Yes. What's up, Save Orcas? Thank you guys. All right. For starters, though, of course, next week is the last Thursday of the month, and you guys all know what that means. It means interview. And I've sort of been teasing it. I did tell you guys last week it was a European that I'm going to be interviewing. I told you the week before that it was indeed a male person that we were going to be interviewing. Can you guys guess who it's going to be now? I'm going to tell you, but I just like to screw with you guys. So who do you think it is? Who do you think I'm interviewing next week? It's better than your wildest dreams. Well, no, maybe not, because your wildest dreams would be like Grubby. It's not Grubby, I'm sorry. Who do you guys think I'm interviewing? Any guesses? Mr. Winner? Ooh, that'd be a nice one. Oh, somebody already got it. Laliat, Neo, Sonic, Foggy. Someone already got it. Good guess. Who was that? Pete Stillwell? Jericho got it. I'm interviewing Thorzane next week. Woo! Thorzane is going to be awesome, dude. How cool is that? I get to interview Thorzane? You kidding me? How pog is that, dude? I don't know if you guys are excited as me, but I am super excited to interview Thorzane. My lord. When I started the show, when I had the idea of interviewing people, I had some people at the top of my list, and next to Grubby, of course, which I'm gonna wait a little bit to ask Grubby if he's willing to be interviewed. I'll probably wait till I got about 5 or 6 in the tank, so I can be like, hey, check this out. I've done a few interviews. I'm not totally incompetent, at least. Maybe you'll want to be interviewed by me. When I approach Grubby with that, I want to at least have a few, right, that I can show him. But Thorzane was at the top of the list, right next to him. So, and there's a lot to talk about. So if you guys have anything you want me to ask him, or maybe we'll take some questions from the chat at the end. We'll try to keep it 90 minutes, 2 hours. I don't want to hold them up for too long, but that would be really exciting, or it will be really exciting. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions. Hey, we got a donation from, is that Iffy? LTHI or ITHI? Iffy? Ulfi? Appreciate it. 5 years, he says, non-familiar face here, steady YouTube follower. Excited for a nice episode. Love the TheoryCraft episodes early. Enjoy tonight, he says. Thank you very much. Shout out to all the YouTube viewers. Appreciate you guys. I do still read all of you guys' comments. Appreciate you guys watching on YouTube. Appreciate everyone that watches in general. It's kind of nice. We're starting to get, we are trending a little bit downward in the amount of people that are watching, but we're consistently getting familiar faces, which is kind of the goal with what we wanted to go for with this show. We wanted to sort of build a community and have people that come every week and people that send replays in, and I can sort of talk to you guys all the time. This familiar people, so that's what we're going for. It's kind of nice, get a nice little homey feeling. That's what I was going for. So I appreciate you guys. Yeah, but that's going to be a lot of fun. And then I do have interviews lined up for next month and for June, which you guys are just going to have to keep guessing for who I got for the next couple of months. But I do have at least 3 interviews lined up for the next 3 months, and then I'll continue to try to get people. And I'm really glad Marcus agreed to do an interview. I'm going to be doing research all week to try to do him justice, because he is a legend of our scene, of RTS in general. He's a legend. So I'm going to try to really do my research and find some good stuff to talk to him about. And he's a really, really nice guy. I've met him once in person as well, so we kind of know each other a little bit. But I hope it goes well. It should be nice. When is the next big tournament? Well, we do have a DreamHack currently. The closed qualifiers are coming up this weekend, and then a week after that or something like that is the challenger phase, as they call it. So we do have quite a few decent tournaments in the next month. Ask him if he considers Flow Reconnect Future to be useful. Yeah, Kevin, I certainly will make that a priority, Kevin. War 3 Champions tourney, of course. I believe that's at the end of the month, the end of April, so it'd be in a week. Not exactly sure on the specific dates, but you can check all that on backtowarcraft.com or war3champions.com. Justice for Thorzane will, of course, be talking about that. I'll make sure, because I was there, right? I was at Anaheim. You can hear me if you go back and watch the VOD. You could hear me yelling, "No!" when he dropped for the second time. So we'll definitely bring that up. Yep, I was front row when that happened. Front row. Heartbreaking. And then he went after that happened against him and Moom, he went and played practice games with Hitman for like an hour and a half. And then I went and I sat behind Hitman while he practiced against Thorzane for a while. So yeah, a lot to talk about from that event. And then, of course, everything else. I want to talk about the StarCraft days, EG, the Swedish scene, of course. Just legendary esports, region. Absolutely. Which tourney most recently ended with Todd versus Happy? Wasn't that an ESL Cup? Which we're going to talk a lot about today. But yeah, that's what's coming up. And then after that, we, of course, have Human Day, Orc Day, Community Replays, Undead Day, Night Elf Day, and then the next interview for next month. So we're on a pretty solid schedule. Might have to take a couple Thursdays off in the next couple of months, depending on what the DreamHack schedule is like. But I don't know the dates. We'll figure it out. We'll play it by ear. Rest assured that every time the schedule is not full on a Thursday, I will be here. And if I'm not here, then there'll be someone else on this channel, on this screen, showing you guys Warcraft, regardless. All right. With that being said, we can move into today's episode, unless there's any questions, comments, concerns, pointers, anything. You guys got anything? I got a nice thermos I can drink tea out of. You may hear me sip or pour throughout the stream, because I got this bad boy now, full of hot tea. There will be 400 new Night Elves you can beat Happy after this episode, poor guy. I don't know about that, but maybe some Night Elves may know a new strategy. So 5 replays to go through. That's absolutely correct. So we'll jump over to the notepad, assuming it's not all broken. Yeah, we are good. So let's go to our notepad, guys. And then I'll introduce you to today's episode. Here we go. Bum, 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 bum. All right. The title of today's episode for Night Elf Day is Foggy's Journey to Defeat Happy. Now, those of you that are avid followers of the Warcraft scene, or Back to Warcraft, or Foggy, or Happy, or European Cups, you probably are aware of this saga. But I do want to touch on it in a little bit more detail, just to give some context around the replays that we're going to watch. And I would like this to be a build-up and a ramp-up, and then it can be something that we can continuously think about as we go into the future, because these players still have a rivalry. and they have for a while, for probably, well, I wouldn't call it necessarily a rivalry for 4 years, but they have certainly played a lot, and Happy has been very dominant between the two. But it's starting to become a rivalry. It's starting to become very close between these two, and I want to analyze some replays from it today and talk about why. But I want to add a backstory and some context first. All right, so we're going to get ready for story time. Let's see if this works. There we go. How's that? How's that? For story time, we're going to get nice and cozy. Everyone get your tea, get your blankets, and we're gonna talk about the history of these two players a little bit and talk about the history of them playing each other a little bit. Okay. So, Happy and Foggy. Two players from a different time, as it seems. Foggy started playing, he played his first competition in 2009. And then he played a couple of tournaments in 2010. He was a little bit in the scene in the early 2010s, right? And then he really started to kick off. People really started to know his name around early 2015 is the Foggy that we know. And he was big in the European scene. He was playing with the likes of players like Rudan, Hawk, Cash, Warchief Rich, Orc Worker, Yaz, Reprisal even was playing back then. Who else? We had HLA, right? We had Sonic still back then. We had Laliat still. We had Cheshi back then, right? A lot of names. ZDR from China. A lot of players that may not be around anymore, but Foggy was still there back then in 2015. That was really, for me, in my opinion, at least as a spectator of Warcraft 3, as European Warcraft 3, that was really the peak of European Warcraft 3. Not in terms of skill, because, of course, the scene in all regions right now is at the peak of its skill, and it always will be. In 2005, the peak of Warcraft 3 was 2005. In 2010, the peak of Warcraft 3 was 2010. And in 2021, the peak of Warcraft 3 is 2021. There's no region that you could go back to back in time that will be better than the current region. Just not true. But in terms of player base, entertainment, characters, 2015 European Warcraft, 2016 European Warcraft had it all, man. Had Yaz, HLA, Warchief Rich, Rudan, Sonic was still back then, and we had Foggy. That's where Foggy was coming onto the scene, was about 2015. He, of course, wasn't the dominant force in Europe that we know today. There was players that were much stronger than him back then. Right? Even you could say players like Yaz were stronger than him back then. Orc Worker was certainly one of the top orcs back then. You may not know him too well anymore, but Orc Worker and Cash were probably the two top orcs back then. And then players like Yaz and Hawk were the top humans back then. Then we had players like HLA and Cheshi were the top undeads. And then, of course, we had like Rudan, Warchief Rich, Sonic, and Foggy as the top night elves. And Happy wasn't quite there yet. He wasn't quite back yet. So we had Foggy on the scene a little bit, and then maybe about a year later, Happy comes back. So let's talk a little bit about Happy. Happy, of course, started playing in 2005 was his first tournament. He played the in-game Warcraft 2005 Spring Season Cup 10 was his first tournament. He placed 4th in that tournament. 2005. He continued to play from 2005 into 2006. He played a few tournaments. 2007, he played a few tournaments. That's, of course, when we had Spirit Moon was the big dominating force, and Grubby was the big dominating force back then, right? So Happy wasn't necessarily the top player of the time. He was very strong, but he wasn't, a name that you would look at in a tournament and be like, that guy is going to win this tournament. But he was still playing. He continued to play through 2007, 2008, 2009, and then in 2010, he plays BlizzCon 2010. He actually loses to Raspot, as it seems, in BlizzCon, goes out 7th to 8th, and he retires. He goes to StarCraft 2. He goes to StarCraft 2 for a while, where he's a very dominant player in StarCraft 2, a dominant Terran player. If you're a fan of that game, you may have known him very well. He's a very strong player in StarCraft in his own regard. This is also around the time, after he moves, he retires in 2010, moves to StarCraft about a year and a half later. Players like Moon were moving over to StarCraft. Players like Grubby, Todd, of course, Thorzane, even as we were just mentioning, were moving. De Muslim, lots of players from the European region, and Korean, as I mentioned, Moon, were moving over to StarCraft. And they played that, and he was very strong in that, Happy was. And this whole time was when Foggy was just very, very rising, not quite competing in a lot of tournaments, but still in the Warcraft scene in the back of our minds. It wasn't until about 2016 that Foggy became very strong. And when Foggy was becoming strong, this is when Happy comes back. And whatever happened to Happy in this time, between 2010 and 2016, when Happy came back, something changed him. Something changed Happy. And he comes back as a different player. He's still a very micro-based player, a very strong undead player. You know, focused around one base play, lots of micro, very standard build orders, not anything too crazy, and he just sort of dominates everyone. And although he was very strong before he retired in 2010, he goes to StarCraft, something clicks, and he comes back in 2016, and he's all of a sudden one of the best players in the entire world. Not quite there in 2016, but he's getting there. He's certainly becoming one of the top undeads. Before Happy came back, the top undeads in the world, we had, of course, 120 at 2016 was the best undead. Before that, we, of course, had WFZ in about 2014. The Chinese undead as well was the top undead in the world. Before that, we had TED, right? Of course, who was another Chinese undead who won WCG 2012. He was the first undead to ever win a WCG, a very dominating player. And before that, in Europe, we had players like Cheshi, as I mentioned before. But it was really always the Chinese undeads were the top players. And then Happy comes back, and he's finally able to play well enough from maybe his days in StarCraft, maybe his maturity, his aging. RTS isn't a game that you necessarily have to be young to be in your prime, although Happy's not too old himself. Comes back and he's very dominant. And who does he meet? None other than Foggy. Foggy, a somewhat up and rising star. Happy, someone coming out of retirement and going back to Warcraft. They meet. They meet each other. Happy's first tournament back was Gara Cup 68, which happened on July 3rd, 2016, and he lost to Laliat 2-0 in the semifinals. That was Happy's first tournament back. We can also see Foggy in that tournament. I'll bring it up. Let's look at it. This is Happy's first tournament back when Foggy was just on the up and up. We said earlier he'd been playing for 2015. This is 2016. He's been competing consistently for about a year in the European scene. And here's what that first tournament for Happy looked back, and we're going to see Foggy here as well. Right, so here's Foggy defeating Focus. And Foggy goes to the grand finals and even defeats Laliat. So even here, Foggy is probably the favorite of these two players. This is Happy's first tournament back. He defeats Czech. He defeats Sheik. He defeats Lucifer even, back then, now known as Michael. And he loses to Laliat, but then Foggy defeats the player that defeated Happy. So Foggy probably the stronger of these two players back now, or back at this time, right? Probably the stronger of these two players. But that's just one tournament. That's Happy's first tournament back. And of course, you know, he's just a streamer as well. Foggy, a top competitor at the time. And this is all going off Liquipedia, of course, too. So there may be some things that are inaccurate, but for the sake of the story, let's assume that everything is accurate. Yes? Yes. So that's the first time they've at least seen each other in the same tournament, but they haven't really played each other a lot. Right? They have not really played each other a lot. Now let's backtrack a little bit and let's talk about best of fives. Let's talk about best of fives as opposed to what else is there? There's best of ones, best of threes. Of course, a best of five is you have 5 maps. The first one to win 3 of those maps, which is the better half of 5, wins the tournament, right? Wins the series, rather. Best of fives are generally used at the end of a tournament. They're used to truly decide who the best player in the tournament is. They just take too long for entire tournaments to be formatted this way. So they're not used for every single match, but they are generally the definitive way to decide who is the stronger of the two players on that day. Right? Why is this? Well, because there's more matches, of course, but also because there's a 7-map pool. This is 7 fingers I'm holding up. One player gets to get rid of one map, another player gets to get rid of another map, and then you have 5 of those 7 maps left. So you're sort of forced to sometimes play on maps you're not comfortable on. Right? So you have to be able to play more maps. You have to play some maps that are favored for the other race. So best of 5s are just very much the definitive way to decide who is the better of the two players. You could say maybe best of 7s are the better way, but best of 7s, it can kind of be unfair to have to play every map in the map pool, which there's only 7 maps in the pool. If you play a best of 7, you have to play every single map. So best of 5s tend to be the most definitive, best way to decide who's the stronger of the two players. So best of 5s are generally what's used as the final match in the tournament. Now, with that in mind, let's talk about some of Happy's history in best of 5s. He's, of course, lost plenty of best of 3s to European players, North American players, in the past. Maybe not many to North American players, but he's lost some. But in best of 5s, he's only lost a few. Now, Happy's first best of 5 loss to a non-Korean or Chinese player was in 2006. It was March 19th, 2006 in the in-game Warcraft Cup Winter against Deadman, a Russian Night Elf player. He lost 3-1 in that best of 5. The next best of 5 that he lost to someone who wasn't from Korea or China, Happy, he lost in the in-game Warcraft Cup Spring, June 25th, 2006 against Satini, a Finnish Night Elf player, 3-1. So far it seems as though Happy has a little bit of a weakness against Night Elf. But we said Happy played from 2005 to 2010. Those are the only 2 best of 5s Happy ever lost to somebody not from China or Korea. Just 2 the entire time and up until the point he retired. Just 2. Do note there wasn't that many best of 5s played back in the day, though, because tournaments were very much organized a lot in the same day. They weren't as well put together back in the day. So, time restraint was much more there for old tournaments back in the day than it is nowadays, where, we have a better grasp of how to organize tournaments. So it was just less common to see best of 5s back then. So maybe Foggy, or Happy rather, would have lost more best of 5s if there was more opportunity to lose them. But as it stands, he only lost 2 best of 5s to anyone outside of China or Korea before he retired in 2010. Just 2. To Deadman and Satini. Then he retires and he comes back. Early when he comes back in 2016, he loses 1 best of 5 to another Night Elf player that I've mentioned before. He loses a best of 5 to Rudan. You may know his name. He was a very strong player back in the day. He loses 3-2 to Rudan in Gara Cup 89 on December 17th, 2016. And I put here, Rudan won $104 for that. And I'll talk a little bit about the prize pools because, of course, I don't want to undermine the accomplishments of the players that beat Happy, nor do I want to overstate that it's a big deal that Happy is losing to these players. I just want to say that in Warcraft, it's kind of a beautiful thing that we're not too hung up on what we're earning. And this is going to be sort of the topic of today about Foggy is, he's not trying to stuff his mattress full of money. That's not why he has this goal of beating Happy. He just wants to set a goal in his mind and accomplish that goal. And that's what it is. It's not about, I'm going to make $20 million if I beat Happy. It's, I really want to beat this guy who's better than me at this thing that I really like to do. Right? That's the idea of it. So that's why I mentioned Rudan won $104 for beating Happy on December 17th, 2016. Now, Happy would not lose another best of 5 until the next year. 13 months after that, almost. And this is the first time that Foggy... 20 million wouldn't hurt, though. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's about the achievement, not the monies. Yes, which is really what Warcraft is all about. as we all play this game that's super old. And that's what I want to really touch on today, and that's what I've been so impressed with by Foggy. This is dedication to something that, these cups are not for too much. The next best of 5, Happy will lose. Remember, he's lost 3 so far now. 1 to Deadman, 1 to Satini, 1 to Rudan. Now the 4th that he'll lose is to Foggy. It's to Foggy. Finally, Foggy will be able to do it. They've been competing together for maybe 6 months in the same scene, right? Not for too long, though. They haven't even met each other too many times in tournaments. They've gone back and forth. A lot of the time, they're even seeded first and second, so they only meet in the grand finals, and they've sometimes just gone out in the semifinals and not met each other in a lot of these European Cups. But Foggy does manage to finally defeat Happy in a best of 5. On February 23rd, 2017, in the Lai Oada Warcraft 3 CIS Cup. 3-2, and he won $123 for that. So that's Foggy, his first time beating Happy in a best of 5. Of course, people had already beaten Happy in best of 3s and best of 1s. Foggy had beaten Happy in a best of 1 previously before this, but never in a best of 5. So now this becomes Happy's 4th best of 5 loss to somebody outside China or Korea ever in his career that is listed on Liquipedia or War 3 info. Right? 4 times. Zabi Alita, you really missed the point. But that's all I'm going to say. You really missed the point. Okay. And that was February 23rd, 2017. Now, Happy will go on to win. Happy will go on to win. Are you ready? Are you ready? 43 best of 5s in a row against Foggy. After that one victory on February 23rd, 2017. Happy will go on to beat Foggy 43 best of 5s in a row. That's not even mentioning that he didn't lose a best of 5 to another player outside of China or Korea that whole time either. So since Happy's come out of retirement, the only time he's lost somebody outside China or Korea in a best of 5 is when Rudan beat him, and then when Foggy beat him. And of course, there was one loss against Blade in ESL Open Cup 18, but Happy played Night Elf. He lost 3-1 to Blade. He played Night Elf. Not important to the story. 43 best of 5s in a row. That's a lot. That's a lot. In this time, Foggy tried many, many different strategies, and this is when we start to get into the strategical side of things. He tried many different strategies. At least it's not 44. So he'll try many different strategies. He'll try mass archers. He'll try going warden. He'll try going demon hunter. He'll try going lores. He'll even try Ancient of Winds. Talons, I believe we saw in this time. Because remember, 43 best of 5s is a lot of maps. Even if you're getting 3-0'd every time, that's what, 129 single maps you're playing. So there's a lot of strategies you have the ability to try. And Foggy tried a lot of strategies. Happy, of course, tried a lot of strategies too. Happy is, probably Undead against Night Elf is the matchup where Undeads have the most ability to do different stuff in, right? 43. And then the story changed recently. Very recently. So it was at ESL Cup 52. You guys all know it very well. And, I will note before this, I'm very much over romanticizing the scale of these cups, right? I'm sure if you were to talk to Foggy or Happy and say, how much do you value these cups? They'd be like, it's just a fun cup for $100, right? So note, I'm over romanticizing the scale of which these were played at. They're just online cups for fun with a little bit of a prize pool. But back to the over dramatizing the story. It was ESL Cup number 52. Let me get the date for you guys. Let me get the date. January 10th, 2021. January 10th, 2021. 2021, 2021, whatever you call it. This was a tournament, an ESL Cup, where something a little bit different happened. Oh, was this the right one? Wait, I hope this is the right one. Wait. Ah, no. February 16th. Sorry. Wait, no. Yes. No, I think I got the date right. Sorry, I should have written this down. This is the only thing I didn't have written down. Wait, is this right? One sec. Yep. January 25th, 2021. Yeah, we got it. There's the date. January 25th, 2021. Where were you? Where were you on this day? Do you remember? This was the day that Foggy finally beat Happy in a best of 5. He finally beat Happy in a best of 5. At home, man. Watching Back to Warcraft. Holding my breath. So Foggy defeats Happy at the ESL Cup Europe number 52, 3-1 on January 25th, 2021. A monumental day. The first time a Western player, as you may call them, has beaten Happy in a best of 5 in 1,432 days, or 3 years and 11 months. And remember, the previous time was when Foggy beat him, was when Foggy beat Happy before. Here's a tweet from Neo of Back to Warcraft. Here's what the tweet. January 25th, as you can see. The reign of terror is over. At Foggy 3-1 Happy. For the first time in 1,432 days, or 3 years and 11 months, a Western player beats the Emperor in a best of 5. A monumental day in European Warcraft 3. Of course, a lot of tournaments have been played online, but this is why we say, no Koreans, no Chinese players. Lin, Infi, Moon, 120. They beat Happy all the time, but they're, of course, the strongest players, respectively, of their races. So, and the last time Foggy had beaten Happy, 2017. The last time anyone in the West had beaten Happy. So now this marks ESL Cup number 52. Marks the 5th time Happy has ever lost a best of 5 to anyone outside of China or Korea. The 5th time on January 25th. And those are some of the replays we're going to watch today. We're going to analyze how Happy, after losing so many times, doing so many different strategies, how he finally defeated Happy. So we're going to do, I believe, a replay from that series that he won 3-1. Yeah, we're going to do a replay from that series. But this isn't the end of the story quite yet. Foggy went on to lose a couple more times to Happy in the grand finals of ESL Cups. This is, of course, a weekly tournament. Doc, that's funny. This is, of course, a weekly tournament. It happens, I believe it was happening every Monday at that time. It's still happening every Monday. He goes on. He doesn't play a couple. Happy doesn't play a couple. They meet in the finals a couple times. Foggy loses. But 9 cups later, ESL Cup number 61. Again, very recent. Remember, this happens on March 29th, 2021. So the first one's January, February, March. See, 3 months is a lot less days than 3 years and 11 months. Foggy does it again. He defeats Happy 3-1. So something's starting to click now for Foggy. It's not consistent, of course. It's not consistent, but something's working that wasn't working before. Right? That's the important thing. Something's working that wasn't working before. Something has changed. And something has clicked with Foggy. So he defeats him again, marking the 6th loss ever in a best-of-5 against someone outside of China or Korea, if you don't mention the Blade series. That doesn't really count. So now Foggy has beaten Happy 3 times in total in best-of-5s. And other than that, Rudan, Deadman, and Satini are the only other 3. So there's been 6 losses in total, and Foggy has 3 of them. Right? 2 times in 3 months. And then the story doesn't end there. Of course, we're going to analyze a replay from this series as well today. The story doesn't end there. The story doesn't end there. And then they play again. Not the next week, but the week after that, ESL Cup number 63, which is the last time that Foggy and Happy have played each other. The last time they've played each other, because of course that was on Foggy's birthday, and Foggy's been on vacation for a bit now, but this is very recent history. April 12th, 2021. 10 days ago, this happened, the last time they played each other. Happy defeats Foggy, but 3-2. So it's very close. 10 days ago, Foggy 1 map away. He goes up 2-0 at the beginning of the series, winning. We're going to watch these replays, by the way. He wins Concealed Hill and Tidehunters. And then Happy beats him 3 maps in a row. Echo Isle's Last Refuge, Autumn Leaves. The 5th map of the series. The 5th map of the series on Autumn Leaves. The inspiration for the show today is I was watching this series 10 days ago with this episode in the back of my mind. I was watching Happy and Foggy play, and I was like, wow, I think Foggy's going to do it again. He's going to do it for the 3rd time in 3 months. 3rd time in 4 months, maybe you would say. Yeah, 3rd time in 4 months, which would be crazy, right? That'd be unbelievable. It wouldn't be consistent. I'm not trying to say that Foggy is all of a sudden a much better player than Happy. I'm just saying something is clearly working. Something is not like it was before for Foggy. I was watching this, and I was watching map 5, and I was like, wow, Foggy's really playing perfectly, I feel like. I don't understand the strategy perfectly or too well. I haven't analyzed it too much, but this seems like it's going perfectly well for Foggy. And then he loses. And then he loses game 5, and Happy defeats him 3-2. And I thought to myself, I even asked a couple people, I was like, what did Foggy do wrong that game to lose? Did Happy just completely outplay him? That should have been his 3rd victory in 4 months against Happy in a best-of-5. What went wrong? So I figured I'd use today to analyze some of the games that they've done. I'm going to take just one strategy from the many strategies that Happy does. He, of course, has a specific strategy he does on Echo Isles with Warden. He has a strategy he does with Mass Archers on Last Refuge. He has a strategy he does on Twisted Meadows. He sometimes goes Demon Hunter first, sometimes goes Keeper Alchemist. I'm not going to go over every strategy today, but I'm going to take one strategy that seems to be consistent and common for Foggy, and we're going to analyze it in 5 different replays. And we're going to end up on, for our 5th replay, we're going to end up on that very game on Autumn Leaves. And we're going to see, can we figure out why Foggy lost that game? Because I couldn't when I was watching it 10 days ago on Back to Warcraft. I couldn't figure it out. But we'll see. After we'll watch 4 replays to start, where Foggy plays very well and ends up being victorious in those games. And then the last and final replay will be the last game they have played against each other. We'll see if Foggy could have made any improvements potentially. We'll see what we're able to learn. And then the saga will continue, and we will wait for the next time these two meet each other in a series. Right? Pretty cool. Pretty cool, right? Story time's over. Story time's over. How was that? How was that? Yeah. Are there any questions? Are there any questions about the story time? Any questions about story time? Welcome to TheoryCraft, guys. The history show. Thanks, Trixta. Pour some tea. Do you have that in a book form? Now, after that 40-minute intro, we get to watch 5 replays that are all 25 minutes long. So that was pretty much what I hoped to accomplish with that backstory. is to just show you the dedication that Foggy has put in to finally be able to defeat Happy and how long it actually took him, how many different strategies it took him, and just how big of a deal it is that Foggy actually managed to beat Happy, because Happy was so dominant against him for like so many years, actually years, that he didn't lose a best of 5. So it's not to over dramatize these, these weekly cup victories, but just to give some backstory and to, to put it a little bit into context. Foggy is Ukrainian. So let's talk about the strategy a little bit. So, of course, as I mentioned, there's 7 maps in the map pool. Let me write them out for you guys. Let's talk about the 7 maps. They have changed a little bit, but let's just talk about the current map pool. So we have AZ, Northern Isles, Concealed Hill, Tidehunters, Autumn Leaves, Echo Isles, and Last Refuge. Hopefully that all fits. Those are our maps. Amazonia, Northern Isles, Concealed Hill, Tidehunters, Autumn Leaves, Echo Isles, Last Refuge. Excuse me. Context, of course. As I mentioned, in a best of 5, each player gets 1 veto. Generally, and by generally I mean always, Foggy gets rid of Northern Isles. For reasons I will admit to you guys I am not too sure of, but it seems to be a common veto for Foggy and a common veto for Night Elves. Maybe somebody smarter than me could illuminate on why that's such a common veto. I do have a quote from Lawliot saying, I veto Northern Isles because Undead gets Claws of Attack +9 from the Expo, and GG. Is a quote from Remo Demo quoting Lawliot. But I'm sure there's a bigger reason why Foggy vetoes it, but let's just say he always vetoes that. He always vetoes Northern Isles. So that's not even in the pool. And generally, recently, Happy's been vetoing Amazonia. So this is the pool, although we are going to watch a replay on Amazonia. We are going to watch a replay on Amazonia because the map pool has changed recently, but now we're left with 5 maps. So on Echo Isles, Foggy normally does a Warden style, which we're not going to cover today. I think that's worth an episode in and of itself. On Last Refuge, Foggy does a Archer style sometimes, right? Which is worth an episode in and of itself, and we're not going to cover that today. And then on Concealed Hill, Tidehunters, and Autumn Leaves, as well as Amazonia, I'll bring that back in, Foggy does kind of a similar style. He kind of does a similar style on these maps from the replays that I've analyzed. He does a Keeper, DH, Dryad, Expo on all of these. So let me do this. He does it on all of these. And this is oversimplifying. This is, of course, oversimplifying. I'm sure Foggy has many different strategies on every map, but this tends to be the trend of what he does on each map, right? So, of course, this being a show where we can't just cover every strategy and every possibility, we're going to cover this Keeper, Demon Hunter, Dryad, Expo style from Foggy today. So we're not going to be looking at any replays on Echo Isles or Last Refuge. All the replays from today are going to be on these 4 maps. We're going to have 1 from Amazonia, 2 on Concealed Hill, 1 on Tidehunters, and then we're going to end with that, of course, that Autumn Leaves game where I said, I don't know why Foggy lost. Let's figure it out. So this is a strategy we're going to talk about today. We're going to go over some replays, and we'll see what we can learn together. You know, a style that when I first saw it, I think this is really cool from Foggy. It's nothing crazy or innovative or brand new. We've, of course, always prioritized fast expos against Night Elf. It's been a common thing for Night Elf players. Or fast expos against Undead, rather, as Night Elf. It's been a common thing, but this style just seems very refined from Foggy. It seemed like a good, consistent style that wasn't leveraged on maybe Happy not having all the information. And it seems to have a good flowchart of how to counter all the options of the Undead. So I think this is a very good style from Foggy, and I hope he continues to sort of push this style forward and innovate it and try to make it cleaner and better as he goes into the future. And this is something you guys can look out for. That's probably going to be his most consistent strategy in the future when they play each other. Make sense? Make sense? This is what we're going to be looking at today. Any questions before we hop into replay 1, guys? Let me get rid of this. Oops. So let's keep it like this. There we go. Hey, how's it going? So no warden analysis, not today. No, maybe another time. Maybe this looks better. That looks better. No ukulele jingle for the start replays. I'll save that for community replay review. Yeah, worth noting that's a good point, ACAM. These replays are, of course, all from the previous patch, which means there's no overlay today, which is totally fine. Don't mind when there's no overlay. And it also means there are a couple changes worth noting. Of course, mountain giants were nerfed. Right? They only have 1 taunt now instead of 2. Bears were buffed, so they have a little bit more mana when they come out. And of course, Cryptlord was nerfed. Not important for this matchup. And Rod of Necromancy was buffed, as was Sacrificial Dagger. So very slight changes. Of course, bigger for the Night Elf were these changes. But they haven't played each other in this patch yet, so we'll see if the meta shifts at all. But for now, we're going to be in the previous patch with the old Mountain Giants, with the old Bears, with the old Rod. Make sense? Worth noting. Good point, AKM. Good point. Glad you pointed that out. So we had to patch back, so we got no overlay, but that's all right. So let's jump in to replay number 1, and this will be on Amazonia. Foggy against Happy. All right, let's see how this goes, guys. You ready? Here we go. That was a long intro. All right. So here's replay 1. Make sure I have sound. We do have sound. Beautiful. Okay. So Foggy here in the bottom left. This replay is, you of course can see it here, but this is from ESL Cup number 61. This is game 1. So this is one of the ESL Cups where Foggy was victorious. The second one, not the first. We're going to get to 52 after, but just for the flow of how to show the strategy, I thought this was the best replay to show first. So yeah, this is from ESL Cup 61. This is game number 1 in their best of 5. And here's Foggy. And here's Happy. All standard stuff. We're going to see Happy do a few different build orders. He's sometimes going to go Gargs. He's sometimes going to go Ted Fiends. He's sometimes going to open Ghouls. He's sometimes going to go for an expansion at different points. Foggy's going to react very slightly to all these variations of Happy. But of course, we'll just note that Happy's going to do some different strategies. And then we'll try to figure out what Foggy's doing to sort of adjust to those different strategies. But scouting is always going to be a consistency for Foggy. He's constantly going to be scouting to see what Happy's doing, to see, is he expanding on tier 2? Is he going straight to tier 3? Is he going gargoyles? Is he all-inning me? These are constant things that Foggy's going to be scouting for, and here's his scout to start. Acolyte is here. Acolyte's going to disrupt the creeping a little bit, but it's not going to be the end of the world. Foggy is good enough, of course, to stop this Acolyte from doing too much, but it will slow down the creeping a little bit of Foggy, who's going, of course, to Keeper of the Grove. We already mentioned what the general strategy is going to be. And we see just how much this actually slows down the creeping, probably by about 10 seconds or so, right? Maybe less than that, maybe 5 seconds, maybe 3 seconds. But enough that it's worth doing that if you're not doing anything else for Happy. Note the split creeping. Foggy's trying to do something similar here. Not too important of a detail because it's not going to get much done. But he does try to detonate the lightning shield and at least slows down Happy for a little bit. We're going to see Foggy. He'll forget his tech for a tiny bit of time, but it'll be relatively on time. He's going to build his next Archer, and then he's going to tech on 2 Moonwells. Well, his first goal, of course, is just to try to creep up Keeper level 3, which is going to be a consistent thing. Keeper level 3 is very strong, and that's something Night Elf players should strive to get. There's the tech, of course. And then let's keep an eye on his lumber down here. Keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on that as he creeps to level 3. Happy, of course, is doing the same. Keep an eye on the lumber. Keep an eye on the lumber. Keep an eye on the lumber. And as soon as he has enough lumber, immediate expansion before third Moonwell. So this is the fastest possible expansion that Foggy could put down after teching. He could certainly get it down earlier if he cut his tech, but he wants to have his tech on time. So this is a standard tech with an extremely early expansion. As early as it can come. You see, he's not even building a second Moonwell. He's not building a Hunter's Hall. He's only built 2 archers so far, so he's cut pretty much every corner he could to get this expansion as early as possible.
A player's forces are under attack.
So very early expansion, very early level 3. He got lucky and got very nice items as well. This is why Amazonia happens to be a very good map for Night Elf, because the expansion is so safe. We're going to see this harassment come in from Foggy. This is going to be a consistency. But the point of this harass is essentially, he's going to try to buy a Staff of Teleportation here, is essentially to keep his expansion safe. Because Happy's going to scout it, but as long as this Keeper is aggressive, he can keep his expansion safe. He especially can keep it safe with the Staff of Teleportation, because if Happy somehow gets by Foggy, he can staff back and start entangling ghouls or anything like that and protect his expansion. So that's what he's doing right now. He's trying to get his expansion up, and of course Huntress Hall, Moonwell, but not before building the expansion. And we see he's just protecting his expo. Everything he's doing right now, he doesn't have a specific goal in mind, like I need to kill 3 ghouls or I lose to the all-in. There's nothing overcomplicated. He's just protecting the expansion. That's all he's doing. And as soon as he sees Happy, goes back into his base, sends his ghouls back home because he doesn't want to lose them. He just staffs back home and gets more mana because he's successfully protected his expansion. Pretty simple so far, right? Makes sense. And just keeps building archers. 4, 5 archers, generally the standard number. Happy gonna buy a staff. I think he even bought a circlet there, which is, you know, if you've watched, I think, episode 11 or episode 9, something like that. We did an episode on Happy against Night Elf. You can figure out why he's doing all these things. Because we did a whole episode on how Happy deals with Keeper Fairy Dragons, of course, which the early game is exactly the same if you're playing Keeper Fairy Dragons. Right? It's exactly the same. You just have a couple of extra archers. A couple of ghouls being pressured. Again, just trying to buy time for this expansion, which he has now successfully done. He even kills a ghoul. Was denied, but this is all good. We see... Notice the timing of the expansion. This expansion has just finished and uprooted. As soon as this expansion is done, the tech finishes. This is how this build lines up. Your tech finishes, your expansion finishes, you get your Demon Hunter on tier 2 immediately. And what this enables you to do, which is a really cool thing, is of course you want to get Demon Hunter level 3 if you can very early. So the timing works out so that when your Tree of Life gets up, you can always creep the expansion with your Demon Hunter. Ideally solo, if your Keeper has to come to protect it, that's cool, but if you do have space given to you by the undead, your Tree of Life can help your Demon Hunter to solo creep the expansion, which is why this build order works out so beautifully. The timing is perfect. And then, of course, Foggy's going to build lores. There's the first lore. He's going to build the second lore once he can afford it. But everything just flows very well together. And, of course, no 4th Moonwell either, because the 50 supply cap is given by the Tree of Life. So we can cut our 4th Moonwell as well to have a little bit more resources. Gonna see that second lore coming up too, right on time. So it's all very cleanly flowing together for Foggy. Ancient War moving over as well. And once that Demon Hunter comes out, he can start creeping this expansion up with it.
A town is under siege.
Skeletons are scouting away. And once the Demon Hunter comes out, he can creep his expansion, and it flows together perfectly. The Keeper is going to steal a little bit of experience away. Ideally, he'd love to solo creep with the Demon Hunter, but he's got to defend in case there's a Lich and a Death Knight coming here. This Wisp builds a shop. This is going to be a consistency. I want you guys to pay attention to where and when Foggy builds his shops. We see after this expansion is about to root, he gets the shop, but not in his base, right? He builds it close enough that he can use it to defend his expansion. Right, this shop is going to be very crucial. He's also going to bring his Ancient of War to defend his expansion. And the way in which he defends his expansion is going to be very important because it's going to come down to defending his expansion for Foggy all the time. And we see he's pumping Dryads now. Healing up. Yeah, I want to. Unfortunately not, because I had to patch back, so War 3 booster doesn't work. And I would use the back to Warcraft overlay, but it's not. It kind of bugs out sometimes for replays. And it also sometimes gives a little bit too much information, whereas I want to be able to go back and be, now he's getting an upgrade. I can't do that with the back to Warcraft overlay, unfortunately. You know, this will be the last episode on the previous patch, so this is the last time we'll have no overlay for an episode, the very last. But yeah, he is getting an upgrade, of course. +1, we're going to see Foggy very much prioritize upgrades. And he's going to stay on tier 2 for a while. He also, this is an important point, he also very much prioritizes getting Nature's Blessing as well. Why does he get Nature's Blessing so early? Well, he's going to use this Ancient War to protect his expansion. He wants to keep his expansion healthy so it can't be sappered. Sometimes he even builds an Ancient Protector, which we may see from this Wisp even right now. Let's see. God, I'm good at this. There's the Ancient Protector. Ancient War can root in the front. Tree of Life can be safe. Even the shop could move over closer if Foggy needs it. So Nature's Blessing, it may seem like a weird luxury upgrade. Foggy sees it as an essential part of his defense against potential all-ins, because we see Happy tier 3 destroyers, ghouls. He's got Lich with Orb soon. There's the Orb. So Foggy's thinking in his mind's eye, I should say, I need to defend this expansion, and Nature's Blessing is a big part of that, with this AP, with the shop close by, with the Ancient of War. Right, so Nature's Blessing, essential for Foggy. Also Treants for Keeper, absolutely. Let's not talk about that.
Players' forces are under attack.
Tinker, this has been the very common response from Happy recently, and this is sort of the timing we can expect to see. Why lose Key for the Grove like that? You know, didn't say Foggy was perfect. Didn't say Foggy was perfect. So the Keeper dies, probably the worst possible time for the Keeper to die. Right before the expansion is going to go up. Or before the timing towards the expansion's coming. But nevertheless, here's the timing. This is generally when Happy's going to be pushing. Right around, it's 9 minutes and 30 seconds in the replay. You know, 9 minutes, 30 seconds, 10 minutes, 30 seconds, about that minute, we're going to see, you know, probably that's around the time when Happy is going to be pushing the expansion. If not, we can see a Wisp right here from Foggy. If not, generally it means the Undead's going to be trying to counter-expand. And we're going to see Foggy proactively scouting for these two options. If he thinks he's going to be getting all in, he'll play very defensively, ideally not lose his Keeper, have this AP here, have Nature's Blessing ready to go to defend, right? Have his shop ready to go, and of course he won't tech to tier 3 because he'll be getting all in. So he'll just mass Dryads. He'll break upkeep with Dryads. He'll invest a lot into defending his expansion. Whereas if this Wisp scouts a counter-expansion attempt, and we're going to see this throughout the day, he'll tech tier 3 earlier. He might not invest in this Ancient Protector. You know, he might not break upkeep with Dryads. He might just be a little bit more greedy, but it's always going to come down to what this Wisp sees, what he sees in the main base, and if he thinks Happy's going to be all-inning him. Right? But it's all about this expansion. It's all about defending this expansion as much as you can. Whether that be staying on tier 2 and investing into lots of Dryads, getting Nature's Blessing early so that your Ancient Warrior AP's in position, your shop is close. It's all about defending this expansion. We see how good that AP and that Ancient War are. And this Ancient War can reposition all over the map because he's got Nature's Blessing. And you can imagine this would be a lot easier if there was a Keeper here. Happy didn't even have to morph a Destroyer because there was no Keeper here. The Ancient War is probably going to fall, but that's what it's here for. It's here to protect this expansion so he can mine as much as he can. Clarity even used on the Demon Hunter. But we can see. Notice, not teching, not anything, just pumping Dryads. Pumping upgrades as well for the Dryads. AP's going to fall, Ancient War's going to fall, but they've done what they're supposed to. He's trying to repair. It's very close to falling, however. They're really just to buy time, because you're supposed to buy as much time as you can, get as many Dryads out as you can. If you hold this expansion, if you're Foggy, and Happy doesn't have a counter expansion, you are in an extremely good spot. So we see all the investment for Foggy right now is just to defend this expansion. He's all in on defending this expansion. He cannot let it die. This is his win condition. Keeper comes back, Destroyer is morphed, but the Keeper is back. And now Foggy has successfully defended. Guess what he's going to do at home? Once he has the lumber, we're going to see him tech, because now he has successfully defended the expansion. Why does Foggy not build another AP or AOW to defend? Well, he's still, at the end of the day, his priorities are still to get mass Dryads. And you have to think about this, too. If you're going for mass Dryads, there's a couple things you need to think about. You're going to be limited on Moon Juice, because you don't have Rejuvenation. What happens if you're limited on Moon Juice? Well, your heroes eventually cannot heal up. So you need to be investing your gold into potions, invulns, heal scrolls. This is all because you don't have Rejuvenation. You also don't have tier 3, so you don't have things like Wellspring upgrade. So it's very important. When did he buy a Shredder? He bought a Shredder during that fight. He actually just bought it right now. He just bought it right now, which isn't something he always does, actually. He doesn't do it very often. The only reason he's doing it this game is because he's lost a few Wisps. He generally does not buy a Shredder. He just builds, when his tech finishes at tier 2, he builds 2 Wisps. And then when his expansion finishes, he builds 3 Wisps. So he builds 5 extra Wisps. He techs with 9, and then builds 5 from his main tree and his expansion, 5 in total. So he builds 14 Wisps in total, and then, of course, all the buildings eat up a lot of them, so. But yeah, you need to prioritize the gold. You can't be building 3 APs or an Ancient War, because then your heroes, you can't afford things like invulns, potions, scrolls, more Dryads to defend. You do need to keep your heroes safe at the end of the day, because eventually you're going to run dry on Moon Juice, and I'll show you that right now. Foggy is dry on Moon Juice, and he has no way of healing his heroes if they get low and if he doesn't have gold. Let me show you. Look at the Moon Wells. Boom, boom, boom. It's about to be nighttime, but we can see he's used all his Moon Juice. And the Demon Hunter taking some damage. Right after Expo to replace Wisps. Oh, sorry, that was more. Yeah, he had just bought. We can actually check the cooldown. Oh no, I can't actually on a replay. That sucks. He just bought it though. Bear with me. Trust me. The Shredder has not returned any lumber yet. Has not returned any lumber. This will be his first load of lumber, I believe. Maybe his second, but. If he had the lumber, you bet that Foggy would be teching right now, because he thought that Happy went back, but Happy didn't go back. He just wanted to heal up his Lich, and now he's coming again. His Lich is quite the beast. So a couple things have gone well for Happy this game, actually. He got the Keeper kill earlier. He got really good items. The Foggy still just trying to hold, even a Moonwell here. Micro Dryads back. This is where those heal scrolls I'm talking about come in handy because you can't rejuve them and you're dry on moon juice. There's the heal scroll. And this is certainly not a fight that Foggy's going to be able to win, but he's just trying to hold on. He's going to Town Portal. He has bought enough time. Still hasn't teched yet because he's still worried. He's just massing Dryads. If he felt safe this game, he would be teching. But because he does not feel safe, he is not teching. What do you gain from teching, of course, you might ask? Of course, you're gaining Orb. You're gaining Wellspring. You're gaining the potential to now get the 3rd attack upgrade. And you're also gaining access to Mountain Giants and Bears. You already had access to Mountain Giants, but the Tier 3 version of Mountain Giants, right? Foggy's consolidating, grabs the Shredder. He has double heal scroll, potions. See, this is what I'm talking about. He's got to be able to afford all this gold, all the gold on all these items, right? He's got 650 gold put into items right now. And notice he's always got, generally, double Staff of Preservation. He couldn't really afford it this game. But most of the time, he would have a 2nd Staff of Preservation because it's all about keeping his heroes safe. He can lose lots of Dryads. He can trade 3 Dryads for a Fiend. He's on 2 bases. But he cannot really lose his heroes. Because as we can see, that Keeper loss from before has almost lost him the game.
A town is under siege. Players' forces are under attack.
But the expansion still holds. That's what's important at the end of the day. See, a lot of Dryads are falling. And Foggy, it's not as though Foggy can out-micro Happy. Happy does have much better micro than Foggy. So Foggy's forced to find a brute force way of strategically beating Happy because Happy does have the better micro. No one would dispute that, ever. You're not going to trade favorably against Happy. There's just no way. And this is Foggy's way of somehow winning the game. He loses a lot. He spends a lot of gold. It doesn't look pretty. It's very messy. But at the end of the day, who's TPing home? At the end of the day, who has the supply advantage? I'll check. 57. 39. Still, Tier 2. Getting to 80 supply pop with the Moonwells. And Foggy just keeps building Dryads to hold. Just keep building Dryads. He's not trading well. He's, of course, got the Flute, which is amazing as well, but... Steals the heal scroll Involm. Very important. Got to keep your heroes safe. Got to keep your heroes healthy. And he keeps creeping. 4. Khadgar's isn't too bad, but Foggy hasn't really been using a lot of Abolish Magic, and like the Keeper's mana isn't too great. We're going to see Foggy use his Keeper mana very well in future replays, but for this replay, it's not too important. The Destroyer kind of counters it completely. Which is why I stress that Nature's Blessing is probably much more important to keep this tree alive and to keep the AP alive and the Ancient War be able to reposition, more so than the Treants themselves with Nature's Blessing. Because once there's a Destroyer, once there's 2 Destroyers, it doesn't get too much done. But it can snag you a hero kill or something at the end of the day. Hey, it even ate a Nova there. See Foggy just running around. What's up? What's up, Dig? I'll call you that. Ache. Tangle. Where's the Destroyer when you need him? There he is, but there is a surround. Abomination falls, and there's just too much stuff at the end of the day. You don't have to out-micro a guy if you just have more stuff than him. And that's the philosophy that Foggy is going with. He can even get the 3rd red now. He is teching. See, once he gains some map control, he's able to leave his base. He feels a little bit comfortable. He feels like he's got a good spot. His expansion is secured. That's when Foggy techs. That's when he techs, and that's when generally he'll go into bears. But in this case, of course, he just wants to get orbs. He wants to get Wellspring for his Moonwells because look how dry the Moonwells are. Tier 3 after killing Happy's Lich. I would say Tier 3 after securing the expansion, because as we can see, he teched much before he actually killed that Lich. He teched after he crept this red camp and felt safe. Right? That's when he teched. And then he killed Happy's Lich. Double invuln, note. Would love even a second heal scroll. And there's a lot of Dryads. Doesn't have Orb yet. See, he's going to staff his DH home, but can his DH even get to full health? No. Exactly. That's why these items are so important. Heal scrolls, potions of healing, moonstones. Very important. And that's simply why when you play one base, you generally need bears. You cannot play one base really without bears because you can't afford all these items. We see again, Foggy investing in items. He's probably spent 2,000 gold, 3,000 gold on consumable items this game. He's probably got about 4 heal scrolls, 3 invulns. That's why you cannot play one base mass dryads. You need bears on one base because you can't sustain these constant fights if you're not trading favorably, and you need to invest in items. So again, I say, this is your win condition. Keep this expansion alive at all cost. And that's what Foggy's done. He's cut every corner to get this expansion up, and then he's put every precautionary measure in way of Happy killing this expansion that he can. Doesn't always work, but when it does, no micro is going to save you, Happy. No micro is going to save you. Which is a good way of beating Happy. And Foggy's trying his best to end the game, but Happy is not really budging out yet. Tinker level 3 is pretty good, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to see that come into play a little bit later. The hero levels are very good. Of course, a nuke could maybe secure Happy a win, but Foggy holds on. Amazonian expansions take forever to mine out, so pretty good. Micro-proof strat, the Holy Grail. I wouldn't say Dryads are micro-proof, but yeah, it certainly eases the load of having to out-micro Happy, right? What could Happy do? Well, it's not as though he couldn't have broken this expansion with his timing earlier, right? So there's a few options that Happy can do against this, and we're going to see all these options come into play, but the option he tried this game was he tried Tier 3 all-in the expansion with a Tinker third, which could have worked. He just needed to win the fight a little cleaner. He needed Foggy to maybe be a little bit more out of position, to not be entirely ready. He did lose his Keeper, but he was still in a good position. He still had all the Ancient Protector and the Ancient of War. He had a Moonwell. He had a shop aggressively. Right, so that all-in does work against this expansion for Happy. Another thing that works, of course, you mentioned, a counter expansion. On Tier 2 or Tier 3, you can do a counter expansion. That works. But again, that runs the risk of being canceled. You can go Gargs with a counter expansion as well, which would be like a Tier 2 Garg expansion, which is also strong, which is something we're also going to see today. But there's a few options for Happy, and they all work. They all work, right? It's just a matter of Foggy is always making sure what option it is and then reacting accordingly. He scouted that Happy was not going for a counter expansion this game, not going for Gargs this game, so he knew that Happy was going to all in the expansion. Not all in, but Tier 3 timing with Tri-Hero and not counter expand. So he took the precautionary measures to defend the expansion against the all in. And if it was another option from Happy to try to counter this strategy, he would have changed up what he did. Right? And we'll see that as the replays go on. But that's why. Yeah, Happy has a few options here. Has a few options. Now bears come out. Now orbs come out. No second shop, but most of the time, is there a second shop? He just bought 2 orbs. Where's the second shop? Maybe he bought that first orb earlier. He must have. I probably missed it. My bad. But generally, we'll see Foggy even build 2 shops to get 2 orbs right away. I always say this when I cast, casually. Double, triple orb Night Elves. But Foggy agrees with me. Get double orb. Always. Build 2 shops and get double orb. Get double orb. Because you don't have a panda, you don't have a naga. Where's your damage coming from? Your damage is coming from these orbs. And, of course, the 20 dryads you have. What's up, Corbin? Get your double orb. Get it. Get your double orb. So he's got double orb. He's got double staff now, which I mentioned that Foggy likes to get earlier. He had a potion that he just used. Heal scroll, invuln. So he's investing a lot into items on the heroes. And he's spamming Moonwells. These are above 100 supply Moonwells. This one that got canceled would have been the 110 supply Moonwell. And this is just to have more sustain at the expansion. Now he's got a couple of bears, but he doesn't have infinite rejuve. So having a couple of Moonwells now with Wellspring as well at the expansion is very good for Foggy. So see, it's all about sustain. It's all about hero items. It's all about holding this expansion. And Foggy does indeed hold the expansion. He's finally got enough. And now bears are coming out. Once you have the wherewithal to start spamming bears, you can of course do so. And Happy just runs out of steam. He could micro all day, but when he runs out of steam, no micro can save you. And there's replay 1 on Amazonia, and that's pretty much the bare bones strategy that Foggy's been doing to have a lot of success recently. And that's also the bare bones response from Happy. That's probably the most basic response that Happy has done. Not generally basic, not easy to do from Happy is what I mean, but in terms of what he does, the simplest to see and explain. A couple of mistakes from Foggy, of course. Maybe not teching as early as he could have that game when he was not being pressured as much. He could have teched a little bit earlier maybe. And of course, losing that keeper. Another mistake he made. Other than that, pretty clean game from Foggy. Pretty clean game. And that shows pretty much what the strategy is. And then Foggy went on to win this series. That was from ESL Cup number 61. Foggy went on to win 3-1. Happy won on Echo Isles, I believe, is the one map that he won. Right? All right, so this is going to be a long show, but we're going to take a 3-minute break. I'm going to pour myself another tea, and we'll be back. We'll bang out 4 more replays. All right, we'll be right back. All right, we're back. So we watched 1 replay. We got the general idea of the strategy. As I said, honestly, it's very simple. There's nothing too crazy. If you were to, come back after like a 5-year hiatus, you might think Keeper the Grove first, Demon Hunter second, very weird. But in the current meta, Keeper the Grove, Demon Hunter, not too uncommon. And of course, just seeing Dryads with an expansion, not too crazy. But it's just how refined the style is from Foggy. He doesn't build his 4th Moonwell. He gets the expansion on time. By the time the expansion's done, the Demon Hunter comes across the map and creeps the Expo to get level 2. He pumps out Dryads. He gets lots of upgrades. Early Nature's Blessing. He fortifies his expansion. Gets early items in the way of Staff of Preservation on both heroes. Lots of potions. Heal Scroll. It's just so beautiful. And everything works out perfectly. And it really requires a lot, but not micro. This requires some micro, of course. You cannot play at the highest level like both these players are without great micro. But it does not require happy level micro. Right? And that's the main point. You shouldn't try to counter somebody's strengths by just being better at them at their strength. You should try to find another angle at it. Right? If you're fighting somebody who has a lot of power, you counter it with a lot of speed. For instance. And that's what Foggy's doing. That's what Foggy's doing. All right, so replay 2 will be on Concealed Hill. This is going to be from ESL Cup number 52, Game 3. As we mentioned, this was the first best of 5 that Foggy, or anyone in the West, beat Happy in 3 years and 11 months. This is Game 3 of that. Foggy would then go on to win this series, the next game after this. But this will be on Concealed Hill. Another very common map that these two play almost every time they play in a tournament. And we'll see what happens. Here is game 2. Concealed Hill. All right, guys. In the top right here is Foggy. And of course, this might be a little bit confusing, but this just means it was the game 3 in the tournament they played in. And then you're just happy again going for ghouls again. And we're going to see a very similar style from Foggy this game. This is, of course, a bigger map, so it can be harder for Happy to break the expansion because it's just further away from his main base, right? It's in a direct line, but a little bit further. But still definitely doable to go for that tier 3 timing that Happy did last game. And Foggy, of course, has many more spots to put up his Tree of Life on this map. You can put it here. You can put it here. If you're going for that early expansion, you can put it here. But it's not as safe as on Amazonia. On Amazonia, you have that nice little cubby by your green camp that you can build it in. And there's no real way. This is why it was such a great map for Foggy. And now that Happy is actually vetoing Amazonia in the current map pool. Because the expansion's so easy to get up. So this game, we're going to see Foggy. He's still going to go for that early expansion, but he's not going to be able to get it up as safely just because of how the map works. There's a chance that you can get it canceled by a ghoul run by a Death Knight coming in with a couple skeletons if you don't have a Wisp ready. Whereas on Amazonia, you can really be greedy with that expansion because there's just no way to get it canceled. Absolutely no way. If Foggy did manage to get his expansion canceled on Amazonia, it would be a huge mistake. And if he got it canceled on Concealed Hill, it would just be a nice play from Happy most of the time. Right? Makes sense? So it's going to be slightly different, but the same idea, same principles still apply to game 2. War comes out, of course, level 3 Keeper is great to get if you're able to get it early on, just like Amazonia. But again, another reason why Concealed Hill may be the slightly worse of the 2 maps. It's harder to get level 3 Keeper on this map as well. Amazonia is probably the easiest map to get level 3 Keeper on, so not only do you have that early expansion that you can get, but you can also get early levels. So Amazonia, definitively probably the best map that isn't vetoed by Happy to be played. But as it stands, we'll keep an eye. Someone asking about the Wisps last game, so keep an eye on it. He's building an extra Wisp this game. Of course, that extra Wisp going to be used for the Tree of Life. There's the level 2. Happy coming across the map with level 1.8. Pulling the ghouls, but he's not, of course, pulling the ghouls aggressively. He's just trying to get level 2, and the Death Knight is here. And we see Tech, and then we see Third Moonwell, which is a little bit different from last game, but of course, as we mentioned, it's harder to get your expansion up on Concealed Hill, so you can't be as greedy, so this Third Moonwell is just to be safe. Of course, the Death Knight's lurking around. If you build the expansion in the Death Knight's face, although it's just a Death Knight, he'll still be able to cancel it, so playing a little bit safe is Foggy. Staff Teleportation, I imagine, is very common for both players, in fact. Sometimes they'll even race over who gets it. As we mentioned, Foggy likes that Staff of Teleportation so that he can harass while defending his Tree of Life, which we should be seeing soon. And of course, Happy gets it so that he can harass as well, while not losing his heroes to Entangle. Here's the Wisp. As soon as the Death Knight goes back home, Foggy knows he can safely build the expansion, so he does about as early as he could do it without risking it getting cancelled. There's the staff, of course, so there's no risk of an Entangle Surround for the Death Knight. That's why he has it. The tree comes up. Huntress Hall should come up soon as well. I believe it would be a mistake if it was not coming up right now. And again, just trying to get level 3 Keeper is Foggy. If he can get it without being interrupted, he would love that. Sending the archers back, because he can go back and defend the Tree of Life. There's the Huntress Hall. Tad late. Tad late. But of course, we're going to see him get his Demon Hunter before his lures, so not a big deal at all. Gets creep jacked. Not going to be able to get level 3, but he got the majority of the creeps here. Skelly saw the tree, though. Yeah, it not being scouted is not a big deal. Happy knows that Foggy's going to be going for this early expansion. The thing is to keep it safe against cancel attempts. Because Happy is not surprised when he sees an expansion. He knows it's going to be coming as soon as he sees the Keeper most of the time, or as soon as he plays against Foggy most of the time. But the only thing Foggy's trying to do is just keep it safe. That's it. And we see he's got Ancient War here ready to creep as well. Demon Hunter comes out before the Lures. Nature's Blessing prioritized, right? It's also prioritized just to be able to walk that tree over. But there's lots of things you get from the Nature's Blessing, right? Very, very important upgrade that's maybe missed out on sometimes by Night Elves. Skeleton scouting the tech. Happy does this, of course, because it could be Ancient of Winds. He doesn't know it's, not going to be, but could be Ancient of Winds. Look at the timing of the Demon Hunter. The Tree of Life is going to get up. Nature's Blessing is going to finish. Demon Hunter is going to come out. And the creeping can continue with just the secondary hero. Ultra Vision. Also an important upgrade. A given that you should always get this. If you're not getting this as soon as your Hunt Hall comes up as Night Elf, it's so cheap, it's so fast, you're doing something wrong. Get this upgrade. Get Nature's Blessing. Get Wellspring. Get the upgrades if you're a Night Elf player. That's the biggest tip I can give. Get the upgrades. Like, this is such a good upgrade. Nature's Blessing, such a good upgrade. Wellspring, such a good upgrade. You don't need to just get attack upgrades. Get the other upgrades. It's not like if you're an Orc player, you're always going to get spiked barricades. Right? You're not always going to need improved lumber harvesting if you're human. You're not always going to need something if you're undead. I don't know. What do they even have for those sorts of upgrades? I don't know. But get these upgrades if you're Night Elf. Very, very good. They have so much use. So much use. And if not for this nighttime, for the next one. For the next one. Demon Hunter comes out. Keeper. Pressuring, again, to keep his expansion creep safe. Right, and he can just staff back if he needs to. He's got the Staff of Teleportation. Demon Hunter is going to ideally solo creep this, but we see Happy is an incredibly good player, so he's here, of course. So although the ideas are there, they're not always going to work out because Happy's so good. So some things sometimes are going to go wrong. So the idea was to solo creep the Demon Hunter, but the Death Knight's here. He steals that creep. And now the Lich is here as well. It's all going to hell. And the Demon Hunter's dead. It's not as though Foggy made a bad play here. Maybe he was a little overzealous to creep that camp, but this was just Happy hitting a very clean timing and also getting level 3 Death Knight very, very early. Inglorious Staffers. Subscribed for 12 months on 11-month streak. 1 year. Appreciate that. Thank you. Look at the Wisp block. Very, very incredible. There is an Entangle and Nova. The Staff was passed. This is another reason the Undead will get the Staff, is to save that second hero, but the Lich falls, so both players lose one hero. And what's cool about this is it's not too noteworthy from an analysis point of view, but both players just had insane kills, like a Wisp block into using the Entangle perfectly on time to kill the Lich. Death Knight already level 3 and perfectly on time to creepjack the Demon Hunter. This was just really high level that allowed both players to get those hero kills, and a little bit of a mistake from both players as well to allow their second heroes to die. So both players making a slight mistake, and both players making a very nice play at the same time. That's what happens when you have two really good players playing each other. Not too much analysis to be done, but that's what happened. But nevertheless, the expansion is up. The Demon Hunter is a little under-leveled, which isn't ideal, but the lures are up, of course. Dryads are coming out. 2 Dryads are out, and then he gets Abolish. And his 3rd Dryad, pretty standard. Demon Hunter comes out, he creeps the red camp. This is great to do. This is very good to do. Of course, he knew that Happy was waiting for his Lich, so he's able to do this. And notice he staffs back his Keeper so that his Demon Hunter can get solo experience, because he very, very much wants level 3 Demon Hunter. He's even going to solo creep the lab with his Demon Hunter as well. This will probably get it level 3. Notice, expansion about to be saturated, he builds the shop close by to the expansion. This is pretty consistent. Once this expansion is saturated, he starts to reinforce the expansion with a shop, with potentially an Ancient Protector, a Moonwell. He'll maybe move this Ancient War back with Nature's Blessing. Once it's saturated, that's when he gets defensive. That's when he gets ready to protect it, right? This Moonwell could even be built here, possibly. Right? Maybe this is a mistake. Maybe Foggy could have built this Moonwell at his expansion. I think that would have been a great thing for him, but maybe he just didn't want to use one of these Wisps to do that, so he built it at home. But that's something he could do. Of course, 1-1 coming through. Foggy again prioritizing the upgrades and just producing Dryads. And he also wants to scout, because we want to see what is Happy doing. He already scouted the main base once with the Keeper, so he saw that it wasn't Gargs. But he also wants to scout, is it a counter expansion? Or is it an all-in across the map? That's the next thing that Foggy needs to scout, which he probably will do soon.
Players' forces are under attack.
And he's doing that right now. He's moving the Keeper across the map. He's got the Staff, so he can use the Keeper to scout because he can be safe with it with that Staff of Teleportation. Of course, this looks like Happy's going for an expansion. The Acolyte confirms it, and the Keeper's here to see it. And if the Keeper doesn't see any expansion, then he probably reinforces. Right?
A player's forces are under attack.
Notice the timing of the tech. Maybe this might be pushing it analysis-wise. It might be pushing it. Let's say. Let's say he saw this Acolyte and then teched immediately because he said Happy is counter-expanding. That would be pretty cool. But it might not be true. But you could make that argument. Look at the tech. He sees the Acolyte. And he techs. Let's actually... I'm restarting the replay. We're going to 9 minutes. Going to 9 minutes. Because how cool would that be? And I would love to be able to say, yeah, look at that. That's when he texts, but... Alright, so Keeper's coming across. Alright. Let's keep a look on... Take a look at the tech. We're on the tech. We're watching the Keeper. Let's watch from Foggy's vision to see what he sees. Nope. We can't say it, can we? We just can't say it. I wish we could, but we just can't. Well... Whatever. We just can't say it. But he does tech when he feels safe. Right? He's got his Shredder. He's about to get level 3 Demon Hunter. His expansion's secure with the shop, and then he techs. Right? He's 50 supply Dryads around. You know, he'll generally tech around 50 supply Dryads unless he needs to immediately break up Keep to hold the expansion. Maybe he just knew the Acolyte would be there before we saw it. Maybe that's true. And you know what? He's honestly kind of correct, because his call to tech was correct, because of course we do see Happy still going for an counter expansion, and it's 9 minutes 40 seconds into this game. We would have normally seen Happy already pick up a Tinker and go for the all-in. So Foggy's tech is correct, because he's not getting all-in right now at least, and Happy's going for a counter expansion. I'm just wondering how he got the information to tech. Right? So I would love to say that. Yes, he thinks he's not getting all in. He knows Happy's going counter expansion. That's why he techs. But I can't say anything 100%. But let's assume he has that information and he was correct in his guess and he somehow scouted it. The reaction now, he techs. He's going to go into Bears and he's going to get an Ancient of Wind. So Dryads are to initially hold the expansion. He will go 80 supply Dryads if he needs to accomplish something, to hold the expansion, to potentially break an expansion. He will continue to produce Dryads. But if he's given space by Happy, he'll transition into Bears and wins for Bear Hippo, which is a very strong late game army. So now what he's doing with this tech, with these Bears, with this Ancient of Wind, with this Shredder, he's preparing for the late game already. Foggy. Because his expansion is pretty safe right now, because Happy's just creeping. Happy's just creeping. He did detonate a wisp that was right here. He had a wisp right here or right here. He detonated a wisp. Yes, he did do that.
A player's forces are under attack.
But now, what do you know? Foggy, Tex, prepares for the late game. He stops Happy's expansion, and Happy says, screw it, I'm buying a Tinker, and I'm going a little bit late. He's about a minute later than he was last game, but it's still a pretty strong timing, and Foggy, because he teched pretty greedily, he's not really in a position to defend his expansion. This tech was maybe a bit early. He's almost tier 3, but he hasn't broken upkeep. He's got decent items. But, you know, he's not really got much. He's building, notice he's building 2 shops. He lost this shop. He lost this shop, so he builds 2 in his main base. Why? Because he's tier 3 and he wants to get double orb immediately. He doesn't have double orb yet, though. And he's got to defend his expansion. So double shop to get double orb, but he's not really in a position to defend. He doesn't have master bears. He doesn't have his orb. He hasn't broken upkeep. He doesn't have any hippos yet. There's a destroyer up in the air. Very difficult. Very difficult to hold this. This is because the tech was a little bit greedy. I certainly don't think teching was a bad play. But he didn't break upkeep. He didn't build too many dryads. He didn't fortify his expansion too much. He didn't build that AP or that Moonwell I mentioned. So now he's trying to defend the expansion, but he doesn't have much here to defend it. He's very much just going to let it die because he can't defend it. He kills a fiend, which is incredible. But it's going to be tricky. He needs those orbs. He needs the bears. He doesn't have any of these things. So the expansion's going to die. Foggy loses the expansion with 1,200 gold. But watch what he does. He's still buying double orb because he's got the gold. He's you know, goes back to below upkeep. He's 51, but he's going to use that wisp in no time. Don't worry. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Okay, here comes Happy. Because when you don't know what to do, you push. And there's also not a lot of creeps on the map, just a couple of red camps. Shop's going to die, but the shop has already supplied Foggy with double orb. Foggy breaks upkeep with hippos. Much easier to hold your main base, however, than to hold just an expansion, right? Because you got all your Moonwells, you got your shop, you got more buildings, you got your Shredder, you got your Wisps at home. So Happy runs back home, and you know what Foggy does? Immediately expands again. Because as I pointed out in the first game, this expansion is the win condition. It's always the win condition. 2 bases. Keep the 2 bases up. Win with economy, not without microing the best micro player in the entire world. Win with economy. So the expansion dies, he immediately rebuilds it. So he says, yeah, I made a mistake. Yeah, I didn't fortify my expansion as much as I should have. Yeah, maybe I teched a slight bit too much early without getting a couple more dryads. But whatever. I'm going to just expand again. And now they're sort of in a phase where they're contesting for the red camps. Both players would love to get both red camps. So that's sort of what is happening here strategically, why they're positioning in such a way. Foggy's going to make a big mistake right here. I'll point it out in a second. Somebody's actually going to show us what the mistake is. I'll see if you guys can notice. Hey, what's Foggy's mistake right now? Foggy's making a big mistake right now. You can maybe tell. What is his big mistake? See if you can figure it out. This is a winnable fight. Okay, maybe he's making more than one mistake, but there's one very clear mistake. That's not nuanced or anything, it's just a clear-cut mistake that Foggy has made. Happy has also made a mistake here. They've both made a single mistake, similar to when they both lost their level 1 heroes earlier. they both made one nice play and one mistake. Here, they're just both making an obvious mistake. Happy, of course, his mistake is earlier he scouted the Ancient of Wind, and he doesn't yet have web. He doesn't have web. He's not even researching it. He doesn't have web. Foggy's mistake, oh, what do you know? He forgot his hippos, and there's no web right now. He forgot his hippos. He forgot his hippos. Forgot his hippos and there's no web. If these two hippos were here, although two hippos not too great if there is web, they would be very good. Still forgets them. Okay, now he brings them in. And look how good they are. Destroyers, run home. This is why you go hippos, and this is also why you go web. Okay, maybe more than one mistake. Yeah, there's always mistakes, you know? You can always find a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. Maybe not Lynn. Maybe not Moon occasionally. But everyone else. Maybe not Happy occasionally, let's be fair to him. Everyone else. Of course, it's a town portal. And again, they're just fighting here because there's a couple valuable camps left on the map. This camp was gobbled up by Happy already, but then, you know, they're already fighting over it. And there's still the remainder of this, but not much. But something's going to happen. Uh-oh, Foggy. See, everyone makes mistakes. And if you don't think this is a mistake, okay, never mind, he saves it. Good for you. Never mind. You remedied it. Expansion up again. But they're just, these fights are just strictly over the last camps on the map. But now that the map is cleared up, this is something that Foggy does consistently once the map is cleared up.
A player's forces are under attack.
He does consistently. We're going to see it in a second here. There's a couple more camps. He wants to creep this, of course. He wants to creep the remainder of this, and then we're going to see something. Happy's just chilling. He doesn't have anything else to creep. It's not a mistake, it's player feature, yeah. Couple more creeps. Level 5 Demon Hunter is incredible, but it's hard to get that, especially against a competent opponent. Again, Happy coming across the map just to try to contest some of the remainder camps. And, you know, maybe if Foggy's out of position, he can snipe this expansion that I'm sure he knows about at this point as well. But you see, the map is starting to be cleared out. The last green camp was just taken. The only creeps left on this map are these two. Unless I'm missing something. Am I missing anything? Nope. Truly, the last two creeps on this map are this. Or this. And the item's already gone. This is something Foggy always does on Concealed Hill against Undead once the whole map is cleared up. And if he has this expansion secured, he always goes for this middle expansion and then just tries to AFK on the high ground. That's his win condition. His win condition is no longer just having this base. It's getting this middle expansion and just fortifying this. So this middle high ground expansion now becomes his new natural. So the similar things that applied to what he did to hold this now apply to this high ground. This is generally how Foggy plays the late mid game or the late game in this matchup on this map. You'll see this. Go watch him. Go watch him on Concealed Hill. He always prioritizes trying to take this middle expansion. Always. He did it against Krav. He's done it against other people. He's done it against Side. He does it against Happy almost every time they play on Concealed Hill. There's the Tree of Life. And what is he doing now? He's moving forward, cutting the map in half, and he's just going to sit here. Because you know what? If Happy goes to his natural expansion, he goes to the main base of Happy. And if he fights Foggy on the high ground advantage is a huge deal for Undead because you miss so much. It's a very big deal. So he's going to fortify this, and look where he's positioning. He's positioning in such a way that he can defend this expansion at all times. And that's all he's doing. He's cutting the map off. Happy, of course, is going to expand now. There's not much Foggy can do about it, short of taking a straight-up fight. Which Foggy would love to avoid straight-up fights as much as possible. He's kind of going forward now, but... You know, Foggy always tries to fight on his terms. He always tries to fight with buildings in range, with Ancient Protectors, next to Moonwells, with Ancient Wars in position. He never really wants to fight Happy just in an open field unless there's a clear-cut reason to do so, and somewhat of an advantage for him, whether it be high ground or buildings, something like that, right? So maybe not the best idea for Foggy to go for a fight here, but if he can cancel this gold mine, it would be very good for him. But ideally, he'd love to fight up here, right? Because he'd have an advantage there. And see, he's not going to actually push in. Not going to actually push in. He's going to go back. Just notice, just bare hippos, right? He's got a few dryads, but mostly just bare hippos is his late game army comp of choice. He'll even get a second wind sometimes. He doesn't have one here, but typically he'll get a second wind if he can afford it. Of course, he did lose his expansion earlier, so it's tough, but... Bear Hippo, lots of upgrades, right? Happy, of course, has 1-0. Because if you can deal with the destroyers, the bears kill everything. You imagine an undead army. Imagine being a Night Elf player and fighting an undead army if they don't have any air units. You're laughing. You're chilling. Easy. Easy as heck. Easy as heck to beat that. So that's the point of the hippos. Even if Foggy overproduces hippos, which he may very well do, if he deals with the 1, 2, 3 destroyers in the air, it is 3 right now, the fight is very easy for him with double orb with bears on the ground, even if you overproduce hippos. Which is why it's a very good late game army. Of course, having this many hippos and there being no destroyers in the air is a big sunk cost for supply, but it's still, there's no destroyers in the air. And no frost worms, no gargs, you know, worth noting, but no destroyers mainly in the air in this strategy. And now Foggy's managed to hold the high ground expansion. He does need wisps to come over. There's the second Ancient of Wind, as I mentioned, once he can afford it. Still has to saturate this, though. Where are your wisps? Oh, he's waiting for his main base to run out, of course. Silly me. Could build one wisp from here. But these are all the wisps he actually has. He's actually detonated all of them, it seems.
A player's forces are under attack.
But of course, he's at the shredder this whole time, so hasn't needed to really worry about it. And he's just going to chill. Even goes high upkeep because Happy's coming to break. He knows if he holds this high ground expansion, he has won the game. Because it will be 2 base against 1 yet again. So he's just going to hold. He's just holding the high ground. He's fighting on his terms. He's fighting with an advantage. The advantage is the high ground. Positional advantage. This is weird. You don't see this too often, but kind of cool, right? Kind of cool. Fighting in terrain that you normally don't see. Plus 17 hippos. Couple hippos here. And we see this is a big overcommitment, you could argue, to hippos. But the whole thing, he just wants these destroyers to have no value anymore. That's all he wants. He doesn't care if his ground army is a little small. He just cares he can kill these destroyers no problem. And that's what he's doing. Nice webs, but there's still enough hippos. Still fighting on the high ground. You hear a meat wagon, which is a nice addition. But look how well positioned the dryads are. There's enough hippos in the air too, so the destroyers all die. There's no amount of micro that's going to save these destroyers. Unless they just run away. And Foggy has enough stuff, and he fights on the high ground, and GG is called. And that's how Foggy won that game. Similar strategy, went a little bit later. But it's very, very straight up. Couple mistakes made from both players, but very straight up. Always fighting on his term, always fighting ideally with supply advantage, item advantage, not taking unnecessary fights, giving Happy the space that he wants. Right? If Happy wants to take a creep camp, you can go ahead, Happy. You take the creep camp. Just don't push my expansion. Just don't creep jack me. And then when we finally do fight, I'm going to be so ready for the fight that I don't even have to micro. That's the sort of philosophy that Foggy's going into these games with. Not that he can't micro, but micro only wins you games that you shouldn't have won, right? Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Okay, game 3 is also going to be on Concealed Hill, but Foggy's going to make a big mistake in the early game. And we're going to see how he reacts to it. Pouring some tea. Don't fight Happy on his terms. Force him to fight on your terms, and that's what Foggy's doing. And of course he does other strategies where he just doesn't fight him at all. His Echo Isles strategy for Foggy revolves around just hitting and running with a Warden and doing economic damage and never really fighting. He doesn't fight Happy on his terms. When Lynn beats Happy on LAN in the past, what has he done? He's done like hit and run. Zeppelin drops into the main base. Right? People that beat Happy do not fight Happy directly. They don't play Happy's game. And Happy's game is, I'm going to fight you and I'm going to beat you even if I'm down 15 supply. They avoid playing his games. They take advantages other than just 50 versus 50, just attack each other. Right? Here's replay 3. Also on Concealed Hill. Slightly different game. This will now be from, these next 3 replays, in fact, will be from ESL Cup number 63. So, of course, this is the ESL Cup, the last one that they played in when it went 3-2 for Happy. These are the last games they played. So we're going to watch 3 replays from their last series. 3 replays. And here's the first one. This is game 1 in that series. Game 1. And here's what it is. It's also on Concealed Hill. It will look very similar to the last game with a couple of tweaks. Here we go. Loading it up. And here we go. Replay 3. Now we're into ESL Cup 63. So this is the 3rd different ESL Cup that we've watched a replay from, spanning across about 11 weeks, 10, 11 weeks. So a few months. Or 2.5 months. Oops. Here's Foggy in the bottom left. Now they're reverse spawns. Doesn't make a difference, but Happy in the top right. No Back to Warcraft stream tomorrow, but we are streaming a lot on Saturday, a lot on Sunday, and a lot on Monday. So plenty of content. Don't worry. There's going to be like probably 40 hours of streams from Saturday to Monday. So we get a day off tomorrow. Lots of streams. But you can, of course, check out, there's a lot of content on the YouTube. A lot of content. Go check it out. All right. Let's see if there's any differences, maybe any mistakes Foggy makes compared to his previous games. I don't mean just overarching mistakes. This is what he should have done. He should do my strat. I mean, compared to the last 2 games that we've seen from Foggy, what are some things that maybe he does better here? And some things that maybe he's going to do worse here compared to himself. All right, those are always things we should be on the lookout for when watching multiple replays from the same player. And why do these mistakes happen? Why do these improvements happen? What is different? Right? Let's keep an eye out for that. Exactly the same so far, though. Daily performance, always different. Exactly. Exactly. Something a little different. He goes Entangle first. He went Treants first last game. Entangle first just to kill the Acolyte. Not a big deal. So, haven't listened to the podcast yet. Is it just Bidu and Neo? Are you going to make an appearance? It's just Bidu and Neo for now. They actually recorded one today for the Patreon. And then the last week's is on the YouTube. So you guys can go check that out. Exclamation point Patreon or YouTube. Or, of course, if you're on YouTube, it's in the description down below. But yeah, you can go check it out. The next one, I think, is going to be uploaded very soon. Very, very soon, if not already. Let's see, he didn't go Treant, so Foggy's going to use the Entangle to creep this. you know, a little bit slower with Entangle, but it's the same idea. He wants to get level 2. He just wanted to kill that Acolyte. Yeah, make sure to go check out that podcast, guys. Make sure to go check it out. After this show, though. Not until after. No, you can go watch it if you want. Archer's coming out. Of course, we're going to see the tech as well. Let's see, is there any extra wisps? Wait a second. Is Foggy down a wisp? Night Elf players? Is he down a wisp or am I crazy? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, no, he isn't. 10. Oh, in fact, he built an extra wisp again. He's got 1 extra wisp. That's why the supply looked janky to me. He's got 1 extra wisp. Again, 1 extra wisp. That's similar to what he had last game. What's the 1 extra wisp for? Of course, to build the Tree of Life, then he'll have the same number of wisps. Sorry, I lost my mind a bit there. Third Moonwell again, because of course it's hard to expand on this map, so you got to be a little bit safer. Death Knight's in his face as well. If the Tree of Life is built right here in front of the Death Knight, it doesn't have enough hit points. It is going to die. This is a nice play from Happy, securing himself a couple wisps, and there's not really anything Foggy can do about this, especially once the Death Knight has a Staff of Teleportation. Not really much you can do. And Foggy's going across to try to creep this. But he has no Staff of Teleportation yet, note. He's very much out of position. So this is maybe a bit greedy. Happy's going to get the Staff of Teleportation.
A player's forces are under attack.
And the ghouls are coming down the map. Because the Keeper's out of position without a staff. And Happy builds... Or, sorry, Foggy, rather, builds the Tree of Life when he knows the Death Knight is right here, right in front of him. Whereas last game, Foggy built the Tree of Life after he knew the Death Knight had run away, and he also knew the position of the ghouls. In this game, he built the Tree of Life without having either of those pieces of information. And he gets the Tree of Life canceled. And this is how, as a Night Elf player, you can get your Tree of Life canceled. You need to know where are the ghouls. Where's the Death Knight?
A town is under siege.
Where are the ghouls? Where's the Death Knight? Foggy did not dot his I's or cross his T's, whatever you say. And the expansion's canceled. And you know what? The Huntress Hall's canceled too. And Foggy has to come back to defend this. So a much better early game for Foggy. But what information does he have now? He knows where the Death Knight is, and he knows where the ghouls are. He knows where they both are. He even has an archer going up here to scout it. He's got archers going over here to scout this side, so he knows that there's a wraparound. Now he has that information. This is a good expansion now. Very safe. Look at all the scouts. He's got a scout here. He's got a scout here. He knows the ghouls are running up here, so they're out of position. He knows where the Death Knight is, so he can come back to defend against it. He's going to lose an archer, but he knows he can keep this expansion safe. Look at this archer. Look at this positioning. He knows if the ghouls are coming downtown. Same with this wisp. He knows where the ghouls are. Look. Look at the archer. All right, maybe he's not microing it. Okay, now he's microing it, but he knows where the ghouls are. He knows where the Death Knight is. That's what's important here. And the expansion's safe. Tier 2 done. Demon Hunter coming out. All the timings are kind of messed up for Foggy, but he's starting to remedy that a bit. But still, Happy's done a very good job in this early game. This is going to be level 3 Keeper. What do we do when we have level 3 Keeper? We try to buy space for our expansion, so we go into the main base, deal with the ghouls. See, scouting the ghouls. Knows where the Death Knight is. Expansion is safe. Those are the two things. Losing lots of wisps. But again, Happy's a really good player. He's going to make some really good plays. He's going to put us behind. That's going to happen. Here's the harass. Demon Hunter's going to come out soon. So everything's a little messed up for Foggy this game. It's a little messed up, but it's all right. It's all right. Our expansion's safe. This is our win condition, right?
A town is under siege. A player's force.
Another thing Foggy scouted, of course. He knows there's no gargoyles. He knows there's a tier 3 tech. So he can kind of assume that there's not going to be an expansion, at least for now. And that he has to prepare for maybe a timing against his expansion. That's what's going on in Foggy's mind, I imagine, right now. Double lore coming up. No Nature's Blessing yet, but his lumber's been taking a beating, right? So he can't get all the luxury things that he would like to get. But the lures and the Demon Hunter and the expansion are not luxuries. They are essential to the strategy, so he's going to prioritize those. And then get things like Nature's Blessing, Vision thing.
A player's forces are under attack.
Upgrades, staff, shops, 60 supply Moonwell. Ultra Vision, that was what I was trying to think of. Jesus, I forgot that for like 30 seconds. Ultra Vision, that's what a luxury upgrade would be. But for now, he's just building wisps. Now he gets Nature's Blessing because that's high on his priority of upgrades to get, and he gets his shop, and the expansion is up. Again, he would love to solo creep this with just the Demon Hunter. But he can't do so because Happy's going for that play again with just his Lich and his Death Knight. What's different for this game as opposed to last game? Well, last game, of course, Happy had level 3 Death Knight. So the harass was much stronger at this timing. But this game, it's only level 2 Death Knight with no mana. So this harass is going to go much better. And we see Foggy's even respecting the harass more. So there's not really going to be much chance of him losing any archers, Tree of Life, Demon Hunter this time. So he's going to be able to defend this. So he made one mistake here with the greediness of the expansion, not knowing where the Ghouls of the Death Knight is. But he's making a nice play here by being able to defend the Death Knight much cleaner at the expansion. And he might even be able to solo creep this camp with his Demon Hunter due to just having a better defense of this initial harass. Right? Because we see how much he's respecting it.
A player's forces are under attack.
3 wisps coming across. 1 always builds the shop. 2 are always to repair the expansion to make it safe. Pretty consistent for Foggy. And Demon Hunter goes back to... See, he's going back with the Demon Hunter. He wants to grab all the experience and the Keeper. And we see, because he defended this so well, yeah, this is kind of sketchy, not going to lie. A little bit sketchy, Foggy. But because he defended this so well, he's able to get almost all the experience on his Demon Hunter, which is really good for him. That's ideal scenario for him. And he kills the Lich. Happy makes a mistake. Level 2 Demon Hunter. The Tree of Life has been delayed by quite a bit because of this play, which is why the undead will do this very commonly. But still pretty well defended for Foggy. Got a little bit messy towards the end, but he holds on. 0 lumber. Not ideal, but he's building wisps as well. And now Happy, tier 3, going for that Acolyte. So he's going to go for a counter expansion. And you know what? It's going to be scouted by Foggy because he's got a wisp. He's got a wisp. Keeper goes up. Notices H War here, Wisp here. Foggy's going up the right side of the map. He can scout everything going on, so the Demon Hunter is very safe. Expansion's saturated soon. And more Dryads coming out with Abolish. He's around 50 supply again. Don't want to lose the Keeper like he did on replay 1. Demon Hunter, a very early level 3 this game. Very nicely done. The low HP tree may have won this game. You mean as like a bait? Yeah, right. Good. Yeah, that's a decent point. Yeah, Happy may have not overcommitted so much right here if the tree wasn't low like that. But still very risky. Still not seeing a tech from Foggy. Still just trying to get up to 50 supply Dryads, of course. Mana burning. Buying time. He doesn't know about this expansion quite yet, Foggy. Nice heal scroll. He is fighting on high ground right now, so this is a pretty decent fight for Foggy, but he's starting to lose a few units. He's killing all the ghouls, however, though. Does have an entangle. Invuln pass, though. Invuln pasta, I was going to say. Staff pass. Saves his Demon Hunter. And a nice fight for Foggy, and it bought enough time to secure the expansion. Look, Ancient War, Shop, AP, and a Moonwell would really be all you'd want to secure this expansion. Those 4 buildings, and you're sailing. You're sailing with those 4. But no Moonwell. No Moonwell currently. Happy somewhat won the fight, so he's going to get the prize, which is the red camp, but doesn't get a great item. TP's going to be passed, so Foggy has successfully forced a few items, and now he's going to scout the expansion. Oh, look at that! We did it, guys! Look, he scouts the expansion. We didn't manage to get this last game, but we have gotten in Foggy's head now. Look, he scouts the expansion with the Wisp. Immediately text tier 3. Immediately. You could also make the argument. You sure? Restart game? Yeah. Well, you could argue that he was just waiting for enough lumber. But I mean, to be fair, he forced a town portal, right? He forced the town portal, he forced the invuln, he burnt all the mana, and he scouted the expansion. This is a good time to tech for Foggy. If he didn't scout an expansion and he still forced the town portal, would it be a good time to tech for Foggy? Maybe not. Because you could still be in a situation where, again, you get all into your expansion, just like the last replay, and you lose your expansion. But this game, with the town portal, paired with the fact you scout an expansion, very much safe to just tech, go into bears. What else are we going to go into other than bears, though, when we tech? What should we expect to see from Foggy, guys? What's just one extra thing? We're gonna see him go tier 3. We're going to see him get a second shop, which he already has even. 2 shops. One in the main, one at the expansion, for double orb and for safety. He's getting extra Moonwells. What else is he going to get, though? There's one thing he's going to have to build on his way to tier 3 as well. What's that?
Player's forces are under attack.
It's, of course... Good job. It's winds. Yeah, he's going to need a wind and eventually 2 winds, because preparing for the late game means bear hippogriff. That's what he goes for. Bear hippogriff. That's what he's going to do to prepare for the late game. And the cool thing about this is somebody mentions MGs possibly. The cool thing about this is, yeah, MGs would have been great, but because MGs have now been nerfed, as he buys a Shredder as well, because he's needed lumber the whole time. Now that MGs have been nerfed, this style is even stronger. Because he wasn't even going MGs when they were stronger before. Now that their taunt has been nerfed, he's definitely still going to go bears. So this style is pretty consistent throughout. Not to say that Foggy hasn't gone MGs with this strat in the past. But it's not as good, I would argue, than going bears. I think the bears are stronger with this style. Right? Getting some lumber. He's got plenty of wood now, which is nice. When were these games played? 10 days ago is when this game was played. 10 days ago. Giants are too slow to get? Exactly. And they don't give you rejuve, and look at the moon juice, right? There's fountains on this map, but the moon juice is very crucial when you're going for this many dryads. You run out very easily. That's why we see things like potions for Foggy, right? There's the wind. He's got enough lumber now. Expect to see even a second wind soon. He's just producing bears, going to produce hippos. When he gets tier 3, he's going to get an orb on both heroes. He's going to get well springs from his Huntress Hall. And he's going to get master bear training. Those are the things he's going to get on tier 3. But now they're just both creeping. Notice how Foggy's just sort of letting... what did I say? Foggy's just sort of letting Happy creep whatever he wants. He's not trying to contest too much. Because he doesn't want to have to fight over camps, not only because he's teching to tier 3 right now, but also, if Happy's going to let you creep, just creep. Just creep. Don't fight him over camps. He's going to own you, and then he's going to creep the camp in your face. Just creep your own stuff. Fight on your own terms. And then you'll win the game, right? But now the map is getting close to fully crept out, right? But Foggy's still waiting to get tier 3. Doesn't want to fight quite yet. He's waiting for Master Bears still. And he's waiting for double orb. He's got 1 orb now. Does he have a second orb? He gets the second orb now. So he's got double orb. He's almost got Master Bears. He wants a couple of hippos ideally, which he's going to get. And then he's definitely ready to fight on his terms at the expansion with the shop, with the AP, right? mana burning to preempt the fight, which is very strong for Night Elves to do. And now he's got bears, his hippo's on the way, he's got his double orb, his shop's about to fall with the APs here. This is a good fight for Foggy. It's going to be tough still. Still a good fight for him. This is when he wants to fight. And this is very much on his terms as well. But still, Happy's very strong. So it's not going to be easy, but he is out of mana. That's one thing Foggy has going for him in this fight. There is no mana for coils, and there's no mana pot either. Still no coils, right? Denies a Dryad. And Foggy's just buying time right now, right? He's just chilling. He's just buying time. And eventually he'll have enough that he can just fight into Happy, and Happy has no coils, so he will not be able to defend. The only reason he can initially fight is because he can Coil Nova a bear, force a staff, kill a couple units, and then win the fight. But if he doesn't have mana, no way to bully these bears off of his fiends, there's not a good chance. So the fact that Foggy's just slowly working his way to a point of winning this fight with lots of mana burns and just wearing Happy down, that's how Foggy's eventually going to hold this push. Not by just face rolling into him, attack moving his whole army. No, he waits and waits and waits and mana burns and forces Coil Novas and then fights, and you know what? Happy has to TP away. And now the whole map is pretty much crept out. The only creeps left on the map are this. I'm pretty sure. Yep. There's only these creeps left on the map, which are rightfully Happy's. So what is the next play for Foggy? What should Foggy do right now if we're keeping in line with generally what he tends to do on this map and what he did last replay? What's the right play? Exactly the same thing he did last game. Exactly the same. He's going to. Somebody says attack, someone says high ground. Both of those in combination, exactly. So he's going to split the map in half. How do you split the map in half? Well, one, he forced a town portal, so he knows. When you force a town portal, we'll look at Foggy's vision for a second. When you force your opponent to town portal, there's wards here, I didn't even notice. You know he's either here, or he's either here if he has a necropolis, which Happy does have a necropolis. You know where he is. So you can split the map in half by running up, being right in this line, and then you know the undead cannot go past this line because you're right here. He's got to fight you or you're going to scout him, right? There's a Dryad here to scout. There's a Wisp here to scout. So you run down this line. You've successfully split the map in half. And then, of course, what Foggy's going to do after he splits the map in half is he's going to expand on the high ground and hold the high ground for the win. Happy, of course, knows this. He's scouting for it, but this isn't something that is a surprise. It's just something that is very good strategically from Foggy, right? So that's his next plan. We see the Wisp going, right? We see the Wisp going up to do that, and Foggy going up to split the map in half. Hippo's scouting the left side, Army scouts the right. Wisp is here. Maybe that's not to build the expansion, but mark my words, he will build an expansion soon. This Wisp is probably going to do it. Positioning in such a way that if Happy wants to fight, he's got to fight with Foggy's back to the fountain. Again, fighting our own terms, not fighting in an open field for no purpose. He's fighting with reason and with the advantage every single time. And here's the expansion. Little unorthodox, but he doesn't want it to be scouted, and he also wants to be able to defend it if he needs to. Again, we saw this last game. Foggy, he's going to run back and forth, threaten to go for an attack on the expansion, but he's not actually going to fight, I would wager. Because he just wants to buy time for this expansion now. That's all he wants to do. Similar to what he was doing with just the Keeper early, harassing with the staff to buy time for this expansion. Now he's doing that with his whole army to buy time for this expansion. Right? Same idea. And this expansion is going to be his win condition. He's splitting the map in half. He's even splitting the map into thirds now. Look at this. He's running back and forth. He knows where Happy is. He knows Happy either has to go through him or stay in his base. All right? Bear Hippo. Again, overproducing hippos, not important. He's got enough. Maybe this isn't even overproducing. This might even be underproducing. I would love to see actually more hippos. Moonwell in the high ground. He could even move this AP over if he wanted. I think that'd be a decent play. And I'd love to see probably break to high upkeep with more hippos. Would probably be the ideal play for Foggy right now. Get like 4 more hippos. Overproduce them. And he is building more. Doesn't really need more bears, doesn't really need more dryads, just needs more hippos. Because you need more than there is fiends, of course, because they're all going to get webbed. And then you need at least 3 or 4 to just get on the destroyers, while the rest of them are all webbed. Right, but we see the expansion's up. Foggy has bought enough time for this to get up, and now he just has to hold, and he has won the game if he just holds this high ground. Checkmate. Right? Although it's not always checkmate against Happy, because he might just own you in the fight. That's a possibility.
A player's forces are under attack.
But strategically, pretty good position for Foggy. He gave up the high ground, which was a mistake. He got a little bit anxious, a little bit maybe hasty with his movement. Thought the expansion was safe, gave up the high ground, and now Happy has the high ground. So Foggy's forced to fight in, honestly, a bad position. This is a pretty bad position for Foggy. Not just because Happy has the high ground, but because it's a completely even fight. Right? Don't take an even fight against Happy. Still pretty good, though. There's enough hippos, all the destroyers are falling, the bears are starting to get on top. The heroes are pretty safe, there's even a heal scroll to boot. Demon Hunter level 5 is a monster. So it's still decent for Foggy, but we see, like, he's starting to lose everything. Starting to. Level 5 keeper. Heroes are getting out of control. And Foggy's going to break through. That late game army for the elf, though, is very good. Hippo, bear, much stronger than what the undead has to offer. So the hero levels are generally what has to carry the undead in this situation, but the hero levels were also good for Foggy. So Foggy wins this fight, not without losses, though. Like, he's even going to lose more dryads here, he's going to lose more bears. Now he's focusing the Pocket Factory, something I think he could have done earlier. All the hippos have died, though, and you see what happens when all the hippos are dead, except for this one, at least. The destroyers in the air are pretty strong. And this is a very, very close fight. And it really is a fight to see who wins the game. Either Foggy holds this high ground, gets the expansion up, or he doesn't, and it's going to be very tough for him to win the game, right? But he saved a lot to the main base. He saved a lot to the main base. So will that be enough to hold the expansion? Euler is a pimp. What's up? Subscribe with Prime. Dude, I feel like you just subbed the other day. I swear to God. 11 months. How you doing, man? I swear to God you subbed like 3 days ago. Maybe I'm misremembering. Appreciate you. Mana burn, really good. Wisps come in. The expansion might be held. Because it is. I'm going to check the supply really quick. Don't be mad at me. 68 against 72. Still pretty even. Euler is pronounced Euler. And Foggy holds. Happy was trying to take the high ground. See, Happy was trying to do the same thing that Foggy's been trying to do through these last 2 games, but Foggy wins the fight. This is why Concealed Hill is such a great map. This is such a cool dynamic in the late game. A map like Echo Isles where there is no win condition late game, you just both sort of AFK, whereas this map has a clear-cut win condition for one of the players. It may favor some matchups for some races. Maybe it favors the Night Elf in this situation, but it's a clear win condition for one player. Hold the high ground, mine at the expansion, win the game. It's beautiful. It's beautiful and it's simple, and I love simple things. Because I'm very stupid. And now Foggy's just going to hold the high ground. He's going to buy more items. He's going to hold the high ground. We're getting into the super late game, super nitty gritty, but strategy's still the same, right? Still the same. Sorry. I couldn't let somebody be timed out for saying you're not stupid. You notice Treant's not the greatest in straight up fights. Next game we're going to see how good Treant's can be outside of the fights. We're going to see that next game. But in this sort of position, they just sort of feed the heroes. And it seems weird, but it's, you know, it's pretty simple. Pretty simple. He's just holding the high ground, trying to mine off this expansion, and then he will just sit here for the rest of the game. Which is why I think, even in this position, move this Ancient Protector, build a second Ancient Protector, build an Ancient of War, build a shop, or move this shop probably would be even better. Reinforce this high ground as much as you can. Bring some buildings. Maybe don't build more, but at least bring this AP, bring this shop, maybe bring this wind if you're not producing off of it. Start bringing stuff over to fortify this high ground, because this is what wins you the game. So debatably a mistake from Foggy, but a small one. Here comes Happy. He's still mining. He's still got economy, right? But he's building his acolyte, or bringing his acolytes. Foggy's focusing down the Pocket Factory, which is very important. Not as easy with bears as it used to be, because it has heavy armor now, but still doable. Notice where Foggy's fighting on the high ground. With items, or he did have items. He's used them now. Level 6 Demon Hunter, though. Give it to me. Yeah, and if Happy goes for the bottom right Precious, then Foggy just goes for his expansion, and then it's 0 bases to 1 base. Right, so it's kind of a checkmate in that situation. And then say Happy doesn't have the top left, and he goes for Foggy's bottom right when he has the middle, then Foggy just goes for his main base in base races, right? So it's always favoring Foggy. It may not work out perfectly, but it's always favoring him in an exchange of bases, right? Yep, Demon Hunter still does AoE. The orb effect just only hits one unit, the targeted unit, but the AoE still works with the chaos damage. But mine as much for gold? Yeah, we take a look. 4,000 to 3,000, so not that much more, actually, for Happy. Not that much more. Minute and a half extra. And still, just holding this expansion. Waiting for the ultimate, so if you can buy time until that ultimate's ready again. Yeah, positional playing. That's a great way to put it. And that's what Foggy's just been mastering, is smart fights, positional play. The strategy isn't overly complicated, but how he executes the strategy and when and where he takes fights is what's winning him these games.
The player's forces are under attack.
Again, using these double staff, like, maybe using the staff on units isn't great, but, you know, because you do want to be able to save your heroes, but if you know that Happy's out of mana, he's got 1 coil now that he used. If you know Happy's out of mana, then you can start staffing bears, but if he had, like, a bunch of coil novas, then you may want to save the staff for one of your heroes, right? And double ultimate is really good. The Tinker almost killed the Tree of Life, but note the Tree of Eternity could just walk over here now, if he needed to. The Tree of Eternity, although it'd be great for it to stay here for the staff, if it needed to, it could walk up to the high ground as well if that tree died. So Foggy's still in a good spot even if that dies. Ideally it wouldn't, though. And block. Almost killing it. 3 destroyers in the air. Where are the hippos when you need them? And you see, if the destroyer's in the air, the undead is typically winning the fights. If there's a lot of hippos in the air, the night elf is typically winning the fights. It's when the hippos start to all die that the undead starts to win the fight, right? Which is why we see so many hippos produced. Just so many. Just so many. 4 destroyers in the air. The DH's ultimate is probably off cooldown, but he's been very low on mana for a while. because he's mana burning so much, which is probably more important than using the ultimate even. I would definitely say it's more important than using the ultimate. And destroyers are great with mana, but there's double orbs, so and the Death Knight's dead. And GG is called. And there's replay 3. Very cool. So now those sort of 2 games on Concealed Hill very much reinforced how Foggy is playing this, right? I'd say those 3 replays are very, very standard, well-played Telltale games of Foggy's sort of style playing against Happy. And it's hard to actually notice just how well Foggy is playing when you're just watching these games casually. Because you're thinking, oh, they're just fighting. And then you're getting all excited about the fight. But if you actually break down where and when and why and how he's taking these fights, you're just like, what the hell? This guy's playing so well. But that's what has to go right for Foggy to be able to beat somebody the caliber of Happy. He cannot overcommit to fights that are not for a purpose, and he cannot take a fight on an even playing field, typically. You could say that's because of the matchup. Some matchups are like that, where you don't want to fight even, 50-50. You could say that, but it's also just you're against Happy, so don't fight 50-50 without an advantage. And that's what Foggy is doing extremely well, and he did do extremely well these 3 games. Now, Replay 4 and Replay 5 are a little bit different. Replay 4, I'm just going to show a different strategy from Happy and show how Foggy adjusts to that different strategy. And then Replay 5 is, of course, the last game they've played against each other. And we're going to see what Foggy does wrong that game to lose it. Makes sense? Pour some tea. All right. We'll take a 3-minute break. Take a 3-minute break. I'll drink this tea. And then we'll watch the last 2 replays. We'll take some questions. That'll be that. Be right back. Enjoy the music. All right, we are back. We are back. We've watched 3 replays so far. 1 on Amazonia, 2 on Concealed Hill. The 4th and the 5th replay will be slightly different. This 4th replay is going to be just to show a different strategy from the side of Happy and to show how Foggy adjusts to it. Because, of course, I always want to mention on this show, these players aren't robots, right? They do different stuff. And we have to adjust. Things don't always go as planned. Things don't always, we don't always just get to do the same 5 steps and then that's the way we beat Happy. Here's the list of things you have to do and then you just beat Happy magically. No, sometimes different things happen and we have to adjust accordingly. So we're going to see some slight adjustments from Foggy. And we're going to see him be a lot more aggressive than we're used to. But he's going to be aggressive with purpose. Aggressive with purpose to accomplish a goal. So he's going to be taking more fights, but the fights have a reason. The fights have a reason. So here's replay 4, and this will be on Tidehunters. And this is game 2 of the same series, ESL Cup number 63. Whereas the last replay was game 1, so this is game 2. And we'll see what happens. Here we go, Tidehunters. Replay 4. All right, so here's Foggy, and here's Happy. We'll talk a little bit about Tidehunters, of course. Let me do this. These expansions, there's 2 expansions for each player that's easy to take. So this one has 11,500. Very easy to creep, this expansion. And then there's these expansions, much more difficult, little less gold. So obviously, the actual choice for an expansion will always be this camp. There's a lab for each player on high ground. A little bit difficult to creep. Is, of course, shop, single shop map, marketplace with a marketplace, just like Northern Isles, just like Echo Isles, single shop marketplace. There are lots of expansions, and then there's just lots of creeps. Note, there's actually 5 camps that are not mirrored on this map. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 2 red camps, but they're both different. So there's actually 5 camps that have to be contested on this map, which is very interesting because there's not 2 of them on the map, whereas every other camp there is 2 of. So Tidehunters is a little bit of a new map. Yeah, this map's been introduced probably in the last Yeah, 4 or 5 months, maybe 4 months. It's hard to say. In the last months or so, probably this year. Oh, what's up, Eric? How you doing? Introduce Vary, but it's a good map and it's still being figured out. But it's a balanced enough map that both Happy and Foggy are happy to not veto it. Right? They instead in this series vetoed Northern Isles and Amazonia. Right? So they're both going to play this. And then we're going to see another new map right after this, too. Replay 5 will be a new map as well. This camp gives about level 1.8, so it doesn't quite give you level 2, but this is the normal camp. You will Ancient War Creep as Foggy, but still Keeper, still second Moonwell. Expect all the same stuff from the last 3 replays. But the person who's going to change it up this game is going to be Happy. Happy's going to do something slightly different. But Foggy's not. Foggy's keeping it clean, keeping it secret, keeping it safe. All that good stuff. As we can see, about level 1.8 from this camp. Acolyte will not give level 2. No. Pulls the expansion with a Wisp because this guy casts slow and he can cast heal, but if you pull him, then he won't do those things, so it makes it a lot easier to creep this. One of them does. I think this guy heals and this guy slows. I think is how it works, but obviously we're not going to see that from these guys. And Happy crept the same camp on his side, and he's going to do something kind of cool. If you're an undead player, this is worth noting on this map that you can do this, but it's a Night Elf episode, so chill out, you know. But he's going to harass Well Creep in this easy expansion with ghouls and skeletons. That just shows how easy of an expansion it is to creep. So as a Night Elf player, you have to be weary that this could happen. There's a level 2. This creep is definitely going to Happy. And Foggy is teching, going to get a 3rd Moonwell. Of course, what do we need to know? Similar from last game. What do we need to know? Well, we know where the Death Knight is. But do we know where the ghouls are? The high ground may have seen the ghouls. This Wisp is actually very well placed by Foggy. We can see what it sees. We see it sees quite a bit, but not everything. It doesn't see this path right here. But we need to know where is the Death Knight, where are the ghouls, and then we can build our expansion, right? That's generally what we've been saying throughout this series. So we know the Death Knight's here. This Wisp may be seeing these ghouls, but not quite yet. Death Knight's running back. Not quite building the expansion yet. The skeleton's going in. Death Knight is scouted. Not quite scouting it. Okay, the Wisp is going around now. Are we going to see a scout? Will we see a scout? Oh, and we've seen the ghouls. Okay, so we know the Death Knight was in the middle because the archer saw it, and we know the ghouls are here because our Wisp saw it. And we're also scouting for that fast expansion with this nicely placed Wisp. So we have the information that we need. We can build our expansion now because we have the information. So look for Foggy to build his expansion when he can afford it. It seems he already built it. And there it is. That's the information we need. Staff of Teleportation, all standard things for Happy at this point. Going to be level 3, which is great for him. And we'll look in Happy's base. He's getting a graveyard right now. Ghouls, a little bit low. Expect the Keeper to get level 3 and then try to go harass, because of course now the goal for Foggy becomes to buy space for this expansion via harassing the undead, right? Again, another Wisp brought down because a ghoul killed this Wisp earlier because he's scouting. Is Happy going for an expansion? The skeleton will give level 3, which is nice. There's the level 3. Expansion's pretty safe at this point. Demon Hunter coming out. Wisps being reproduced for the extra lumber. He normally builds 2 once his tech finishes. Foggy does. Then he'll build his lures as well.
A player's forces are under attack.
This Wisp's still scouting everything. Foggy. Not very active scouting. Like, he's not constantly sending Wisps all over the place. But he's scouting the right things at the right times. Right? And that's pretty consistent with him. Double lures come up. The DK just coiled a Wisp, which is a good thing about having level 3 DK this early. You can just run in and coil Wisps. Notice, Keeper going across the map. Not necessarily to buy space for the expansion to be safe, but to buy space for the Demon Hunter to get up to level 3 as early as he can. Because the expansion's already crept, so Foggy doesn't have to buy space to creep the expansion, but he wants to still buy space for his Demon Hunter to creep freely, because that would be ideal. So that's what he's going to do here. And of course, he also scouts the main base. He sees Gargs, which is something new. It's not something that Happy never does, but it's just something we haven't seen today. So it's going to be Gargs, so let's see what Foggy does to adjust to the Gargs. So far, it's all the same, though, right? So far, it's all the same. He's going to immediately build Nature Protector, probably getting Nature's Blessing as well. There it is. So he gets a very early AP against the Gargs to deal with them against the expansion. And he gets it in a safe position where it's hard to be cancelled. And he continues to creep the Demon Hunter up. He does reveal... He actually reveals... Yeah, he reveals the middle of the map. This is kind of an interesting reveal. But he's just revealing to make sure that he's kind of safe to creep this. To make sure there's no like hero running through here waiting to creep Jack him or anything like that. I assume that's what he's doing, but it's a little bit of an interesting reveal from Foggy. You would expect he'd reveal like this or the main base, but he's already got all the information he needs. Like he even saw the Blade Skull being put down. So he was going to creep the lab, but then he scouted that Happy was going for an expansion, and as I said, Foggy's happy to never take fights against Happy if he doesn't need to. He will only fight if he's doing so for a purpose. He will fight to buy space for his expansion, right? He will fight to delay so that he can get up to tier 3 to fight on his terms, right? He'll fight if Happy pushes his main base. He'll fight if Happy pushes his expansion. And now he's going to fight because Happy's going for an expansion, so he's sort of forced into this position, which isn't going to be an ideal circumstance for him to fight in, but he still wants to stop this expansion, which is why we're going to see Foggy be much more aggressive this game. With purpose, though, not blindly. Not just, oh, I don't know what to do, so I'm going to run across the map and take a fight. It's, oh, I have a reason to fight, I'm going to go across and try to win the game with it.
Under siege.
Treants. Nature's Blessing on these Treants is very effective. Look how good they are. This is Treants getting the maximum value they can, really, is this sort of stuff. Not necessarily in the late game, but in this position, they're beauty. They are beauty. Ancient War, AP going across, right? Shop up once the expansion is saturated. Notice, expansion about to be saturated. Shop is up, can buy Staff of Preservation. Does he have one? Not yet. Could have one. Maybe a slight mistake from Foggy. Slight, though. Slight.
Town is under siege.
See? Treants. Trying to stop the expansion. So Foggy's very much trying to... You can notice he's really not wanting to fight directly. He just wants to stop this expansion. He's not just like face rolling into here with his whole army trying to win the fight, and then by winning the fight stopping the expansion. He's trying just to run back and forth, buy time, and let his Treants do the work. So he's still, even in this position, saying, I don't really want to fight you as much as I can. Right? More Treants. Dryad's being a little bit sloppy, but we see he's just trying to buy space so he can get the gold mine canceled, and he's going to. Again, this is like 4 Ziggurat cancels. I don't even think that guy was canceled, and the gold mine's going to go down as well. And what do we see back at home? Just continuing to produce Dryads. His expansion is safe and saturated soon. He's just going to keep producing Dryads. Again, upgrades. Again, he's going to get double Staff of Preservation. Again, he wants to prioritize getting heal scrolls and invulns and stuff like that. But he's just producing Dryads for now. And he stopped the expansion. And what does he do when he stops the expansion? He just runs away because he doesn't want to fight. Of course he doesn't. He stopped the expansion. He doesn't need to fight for any reason. you know. Reveals to see again. Happy is going for this expansion. But he goes back home to get preservation, mana pot, clarity as well, and to heal up. Does he get preservation? Yeah, potion and preservation. And just going to keep producing dryads once he has his gold. Treants coming down. But Happy is well aware of what's going on at this point. But more Treants. And see, he's just going for the cancels. He wants to keep this fight as short as he possibly can. Fighting Happy is like being in those tunnels in Chernobyl, you know, when they got to go through that water. You guys have seen that show? Of course, it happened in real life as well, but you know what I'm talking about, that scene when their light dies when they're in the water. That's what Foggy treats fighting Happy like. You want to be down there for as limited time as possible. And that's what he's doing. He cancels the expansion, runs away again. Still not going to take a straight up fight, ever, if he doesn't have to. Yeah, totally worth to buy clarities for Keeper. He just did so, but he's doing so because he wants extra treants to try to stop this expansion. He wouldn't always be like pumping clarities, because it'd be better for him to buy like potions, moonstones, invulns, heal scrolls, but in this case, he's getting a lot of value out of the mana. A lot of value out of it. Demon Hunter now going to be able to creep up to level 3. Not quite off this camp, but very close. See, he's just continuing to produce dryads. Once he stopped that expansion again, he killed it for the second time. Then he goes tier 3. He's going tier 3 for Wellspring, double orb. Right? Probably not any bears this time. He could maybe get some bears, but he's of course against guards, so either mass dryads or mass hippos is what you're looking to get, probably. Oh, see, maybe a bear or two could be great, of course, for rejuve. But he's just chilling. As soon as he stops the expansion, he goes to creep. He techs, plays it safe. He's not going to contest any camps away from Happy. He says, whatever you want to creep, you just creep. And I'll just try to creep what I can as well. Just leave me alone, says Foggy. Just leave me alone. Very nice Ancient War usage. He can even run it back to the expansion afterwards. But he doesn't have to be so careful at his expansion because, of course, he knows he's up against Gargs. So he doesn't have to, fortify his expansion as much as he would against, like, the tier 3 timings we've seen previously, right? Cloak of Flames, very bad against Gargs, good against everything else. So not ideal. Foggy's just creeping up a storm. Going tier 3 as well. Which is why he's creeping. He's waiting for his tier 3. Wisp still here to scout for the expansion, right? Ancient of Wonders. 1, 2 shops. Tier 3 about to be finished. You know why he gets 2 shops. He wants 2 orbs as early as possible. Creeping the shop. He'll buy a heal scroll and an invuln. I would guarantee here. There's a heal scroll. There's the invuln. Potion, invuln, heal scroll, invuln. He'll soon have double orb, and he'll probably get double staff of preservation. Very much loves his items. And note, he's taking a fight right now. And yes, he's in a very good position to win the fight, Foggy, because he's got a supply advantage. He's got a big one. 71 against 49. But even though he has a 20 supply advantage, he's still not taking this fight for no reason. He's not taking this fight just because he has a supply advantage, because he thinks he can steamroll Happy, because he may not be able to. He's taking this fight because he's building another expansion right now. In Happy's face. So he's taking this fight to buy space for this expansion. Always fighting with purpose, always fighting with an advantage in mind other than just winning the fight. But still, his supply advantage is so huge that he even forces a town portal, right? Even kills a guard. So certainly he could win that fight, but there's always a second reason than just I'm going to win the fight. With that being said, I doubt this is going to get up. But notice again, similar to Concealed Hill, the whole map gets crept out. There's a couple of creep camps left, like there's this one and this one at the time. There's like a little camp here, a little camp here. Oh, what the hell? Oh my god. Did you guys know about this? Wait a second. Wait a second. Wait, has anyone pointed this out before? Wait a second. Oh my god. Wait, who does more damage? They do the same damage? Man, he should have like made Remo do like 1 extra damage or something. Alright, I forget who made Tidehunters. I've talked to him before. Where am I? You got an island here for me? You got an island here for Bidu? Okay, whatever, man. Whatever. Fine. I'm fine. I'm fine with it. Can I be a horse? Can you make me a horse? Yeah, I don't know. That's cool. Now I just want to look around the whole map for secret things. But what I wanted to show you, yeah, make me a critter that just dies immediately to the undead. Make me the critter that's like right outside the undead base, so I just die immediately. Okay. But what I want to show, the map is almost crept out. Yeah, there's a few creeps left. There's a lot of creeps on this map. But like when the map is starting to get crept out, very close to being crept out or crept out entirely, this is when Foggy goes for his next base, because he can then play strategically around defending this expansion or trading for the expansion's life in ways of like going into the main base while losing the expansion, stuff like that. So this is when he goes for the third base. And see, he's getting that expansion canceled, but he's still just going to build another third base because he still wants to get another base up. Crept out versus creeped out? I'm not sure. I say, what did I even say? I think I say crept out, right? Crept out, I think is what I say. Not sure. Either could be correct. Double orb available now. Still producing dryads. Doesn't have the orbs yet. Has 1 orb. Would love a second orb, though, of course.
A player's forces are under attack.
TPs to defend his expansion, but again, this is very much on his terms. Ancient War, AP, shop. Can position as he desires. Demon Hunter, for some reason, is running down here. Sometimes you just can't explain some things. That's all right. That's all right. Treant's going to cancel the expansion. This is beautifully done by Foggy.
A player's forces are under attack.
Of course, he had a wisp here earlier that did die, but he had a wisp there. Does he have double orb yet? Does he have double orb, and where's the Demon Hunter? Let me do this. Where's the Demon Hunter? There he is. Doesn't have double orb yet. Now he does. Now he's got double orb. There we go. And that's what he wants. Always get double orb. And always have safe heroes. What are his Dryad upgrades? 2-1. And see, he's got Wellspring. He's getting his extra Moonwells right now for 100 supply. But just Dryads. This is the adjustment he's making. No longer is he going Bear Hippo for the late game. He's going pure Dryad. And he's trying to kill him. He's trying to kill him with just Dryads because he knows how much damage he's done to the expansion, and he knows that Happy is not going to be equal in supply at all. So he's trying to kill him, but he's also taking the economic lead again. So this is like a fail-safe. If Happy holds this expansion, Foggy will still have the economic lead. But if Happy does not hold this expansion, then Foggy wins. Right, so regardless, Foggy's going to come out of this ahead, short of losing everything. So again, another checkmate sort of scenario. Happy has to defend this expansion, but in defending this expansion, Foggy takes a lead, no matter what. There's a school bus outside. It always pulls into my driveway to turn around. I don't know if you can hear that. Here we're going to see a perfect example of why you always fight Happy on your terms and never on his terms, because Happy's gonna do pretty well in this fight. Let's just pause for a second, take a look. Okay, so 62 supply. All right, so it's not too bad. So 62 supply against 90. Happy has a Mana Stone and a big health pot, but Foggy has Heal Scroll, Invuln, Double Orb, Illusions. So this is a 28 supply advantage for Foggy. But this is not a fight on his own terms. This is a fight with purpose and to gain an advantage, but it's still on Happy's terms. It's at Happy's home base. He's got a Nerubian. He's got a shop close by. He's got a statue to the back. He's got Blight. 28 supply advantage for Foggy. Here we go. Looks pretty good. A lot of Dryads falling, but there's still a lot of Dryads left. I don't hear a lot of Gargs dying. I don't hear a lot of... I heard a Ghoul die, but I don't hear a lot of Gargs dying. There's that Mana Stone used. The Greater Heal has not been used yet. $62 against 90 we were at the start of this fight, remember? Okay, the fight is over. Let's take a look at it. Happy. 56. He went down 6 supply, but he is producing, right? But he went down 6 supply, Foggy. Okay, Foggy went down 18. And he's producing a couple. So they're both producing the same amount of supply, but yeah. Definitely a good fight for Happy, you could say. And this is why, this is just reinforcing why you don't take just straight up even supply fights against Happy, and you especially don't fight Happy on his terms. But I'm not saying this is a bad fight. It may have been not perfectly microed, but it still had a purpose, and the purpose has served itself. And this is what's going to win Foggy the game. Was this fight that looked terrible for him. Because now he's got the economic edge again, and he can push ahead in supply and re-attack and win the game. So not saying it was a perfectly executed fight by Foggy, but it was still a fight with purpose. And it wasn't done so willy-nilly. And he's still got shop control, which is great, because one-shop map, one-shop marketplace maps. Very important. But, you know, he's still going to pull ahead in supply, because he's got so much extra gold. 64 against 80 again. So, again, around that 20 supply advantage. But 20 supply advantage, and they're both lower. So if you keep doing that, 20 supply advantage, but you're both lower, eventually you're at 50 supply, and Happy's at 30 with just heroes, eventually you win. So you may not trade favorably, but as long as you maintain that supply advantage. Why doesn't he have hippos this game? Because he just would never simply be able to get enough hippos to really counter this army. And if you don't have air dominance, it's hard to go into hippos. So if he wanted to go into hippos, for instance, Foggy, he would have to stay on 50 supply, and then build 3 Ancient of Winds just to catch up and get air dominance, which he does do sometimes. But in this case, he was already invested into 60, 70 supply Dryads. You can't really transition out of this into hippos. It'd be very difficult for them to get much value against Gargs, especially against someone with the micro of Happy. So it's better just to fully commit into Dryads and try to break this Expo. Because if you're going to go for the air fight, you have to be able to win the air fight. And again, Foggy's not trading perfectly, but he's trading, and he's going to end up ahead in this fight. He is misrallying a couple units. Nope. A mistake. Yeah, if you're gonna go for an air versus air fight against Gargs' Night Elf, you either go for it or you don't go for it at all. So you either go 3 wins and you mass hippos and you get like, you know, you retrain and you get like a Pit Lord 3rd or something. Or you just go Dryads. Loses a lot, but gets the Lich. Note. 5 Dryads. Nope, backpack actually too. Possibly a misclick. Don't have much analysis as to why he went backpack this game and not other games, but worth noting that he does have backpack. Perhaps just to bring potions across, clarities across. Maybe because he's been so aggressive this game he gets backpack. But I haven't really seen him use it actually, so it could have been a mistake. Let's take a look at the supply again though. So 49, 62. See, Foggy still has the supply advantage, but they're both lower. Then they take one more fight, and as I said, Happy ends up at 30. Foggy ends up at like 45, but still, the lower the supply, you know, the bigger difference the supply differential makes, right? Yeah, 3-2 Dryads. He's probably going to be 3-3 soon. Not quite there, but a lot of gold. Whole lot of gold. He used backpack earlier to bring a mana potion? Okay, there's why he got it, which is definitely good because he's been so aggressive against this expansion. Can use some of that gold on heal scrolls. Maybe even an invis pot on his Demon Hunter would be decent. No Lich, though. And the Destroyer had to be morphed again. The only statue morphed into a Destroyer, which is always going to be good for Foggy. Because, you know, if you don't deal with these treants, you're going to get owned, so. 4th expansion, you do see that correct. Which is just a case of, I'm so ahead, I have a lot of surplus gold, I have map control as well, let's just build another expansion. And even if it dies, it doesn't really matter. It's just, you might as well, if you're Foggy. And if there was another base, I'm sure he'd be building another Tree of Life at that base, 2 at the same time. And it's not easy, because pushing into Happy's expansion is extremely difficult, but over time he wears him down because he has the economic edge, then he's going to be able to win. But you imagine if Foggy didn't have the economic edge the whole time, nice block. If he didn't have the economic edge the entire time, this game would have been lost because Happy outmicroed him consistently, right? The expansion's dead. Happy's trying, but not really gonna matter, is it? Do we get 3-3 drives by the end? We haven't yet. Now we are. There we go. Both heroes are back. But what's the supply? 42 against 70. 2k gold as well. Just wears him down, wears him down, wears him down. And he doesn't even have to defend this, but he's so far ahead that he can, right? Surrounds the DK, GG. And there we go. Pretty cool game, but still, although Happy did a different strategy, it was still pretty consistent to the style that Foggy's been going for. He fought with purpose. Always. And he did the same strat. Just only went Dryads instead of going into Bear Hippo. Still double shop, still secured the expansion early, still level 3 Demon Hunter early. Still lots of Dryads early, only he built even more Dryads. And that's it. So, we have one more replay. And as I mentioned, after this game, this was game 2 in ESL Cup number 63, and Foggy was up 2-0. Then Happy went on to win the next 2 games, tying it up at 2-2 in this best of 5. This is game 5. And this could have been the case in which Foggy was able to defeat Happy in 3 best of 5s in 3 months, which would have been crazy considering Happy's track record. But something went wrong in this game, and I'm hoping after all this analysis that we've done today, we've watched 4 replays now, we've been talking about this for 3 hours, maybe we can break down some mistakes that Foggy made in this game that cost him his 3rd best of 5 series against Happy in ESL Cups. Maybe we can decide. I asked myself the question 10 days ago, why did Foggy lose this game? I thought he played perfect in my eyes. I thought he played very well at least, and I didn't see much reason for him to lose. But maybe with the information we've gained now, with the replays we've watched, maybe we can figure this out. So let's figure it out together. This is game 5 from their last series. Replay 5 for today, the last replay. Maybe we won't see anything. Maybe we'll just learn from this episode. Sometimes Happy just beats you, even if you do everything right. But on the off chance that we're able to find some errors, some holes in the play that Foggy made this game that he didn't make in the others, not fighting with a purpose, Kappa, perhaps, maybe we'll be able to figure out the answer to the question I've been asking myself for 10 days. All right, let's go. Here's the last replay of the day, guys. Autumn leaves. It's on Game 5 ESL Cup number 63. Happy against Foggy. The longest episode of TheoryCraft we have ever had. Here's replay 5. All right. Here's Foggy in the bottom left of Autumn Leaves, and here is Happy yet again. Let's talk a little bit about Autumn Leaves. This is also a new map in the pool. Of course, there's 2 expansions here. This one is easy to creep, has 12,000 gold, but it's also very exposed. And if you're trying to fortify a position, like Foggy has been with his expansion, this is hard to hold because it's so out in the open. Whereas this expansion, harder to creep, same amount of gold, but you can fortify it much easier. This map also has shops right here, and also has a lab, and then a merc camp, and it's got red camps over here, 1 red camp, 1 red camp. The only non-neutral camps are these 2 on this map, whereas on Tidehunters there are 5 of them, and there's camps spread across, little greens, little green, little green, little green. Right, this is Autumn Leaves. Pretty neat. Gonna see an Ancient War Creep. I'm gonna pour tea while we watch this Ancient War Creep, and then we'll get into it. Hidden Turtle? Is there? Okay, is there Hidden Turtle? No, I don't think Tenshi did this to us. Maybe he will in a future patch. I don't see anything. This is really cool. I love these pack horses, actually. This isn't what this episode's about, but let's talk about pack horses. So the thing with critters, right? That isn't true with pack horses, although they have a lot of extra health. Critters, let's find a critter. I don't know. Okay, critter, 15 health, 1 shot, right? But they move. These pack horses, where is it? These pack horses, they don't move. If we had these on every map, and they had like 20 health, these would be perfect. There's no RNG involved. They're always in the same spot. They give you corpses still. It's way better. They don't block you for no reason. Pardon me. Region. Right, they're great. There should be another one up here. This is a little weird. But I think these are great. Like, lower the health on them. Make them 20 health. Put them all over the place, man. I think it's awesome. This sort of non-mobile corpse providing things. There's also a boat. I don't know. I'm just looking around the map now. But yeah, that's something very cool that we don't see too much in maps. I don't know if there's anything else on this map like that. Probably, but it's hard to see. I'm also not an undead player, so I don't pay attention to these things too much. But I digress. Here we go. I'll pour a tea now. Sure, you can modify critters to not wander randomly, perhaps. I think that's a debate that's worth having. This is just my opinion with the critters and undead players generally, especially on maps like Last Refuge. They hate the critters, and they lose games because of the critters, but they're not normally that big of a deal. I just think this is such a cool idea. Maybe not to overdo it, but the fact that there's one or maybe a couple of these on each map, it would be awesome. Just to have a consistent place to find a critter if all else fails for the undead. I think it's great. I think it's great. And again, it has too much health, though. It has way too much health, but I'm sure this is more for aesthetics than it was for that purpose. Item left by Foggy. A objective mistake, but that's all right. His one extra wisp, remember? That he builds. Maybe he even built 2 extra wisps this game. No, I think this is just 1. Oh, he's building even more. He's going crazy. He's going ham on the extra wisps. What's up, Crota? How you doing, man? So we're going to look for Foggy's mistake. The ghouls are creeping the expansion. Wisp going here, I imagine, for Foggy's expansion. 2 sides of scouting, remember. We know where the Death Knight is. We need to know where the ghouls are. Does Foggy know where the ghouls are? Oh, sorry, I shouldn't have Fog of War off. He does not. He does not know where the ghouls are quite yet. So a little bit risky for him to go for an expansion. He has gone for the tech. No third Moonwell quite yet, and he actually risks it with the expansion. Now, we did watch one replay today, the third replay, where this didn't pay off, but as it stands right now, it seems as though it's going to pay off, despite Foggy perhaps making this expansion a little bit prematurely because he didn't know where the ghouls were, but look, there's no way these ghouls are going to get much done. So Foggy rolled the dice a little bit here, but it pays off. Huntress Hall, third Moonwell, might as well get it a little early. Then forget it.
A player's forces are under attack.
So far, so standard for Happy. And Foggy. Could get his level 3. It would probably take him both greens. He might be able to get it off this green. Yeah, I think he would be able to just get it off this green. So perhaps a good play. But as it stands, he's got to defend this expansion because he doesn't know where the ghouls are. So he's got to sit right here and be terrified for his expansion's life. Look, he's even scouting with treants because he thinks there's ghouls coming across the map because he didn't actually know where they were. He's scouting both sides now. Treant, AFK here. Army, right around here. He wants to defend the expansion. Tier 2 should be done soon. Then we'll see a Demon Hunter come out. Right now, I would honestly say that Foggy got lucky this expansion stayed up this game. Nice detonate. Because Happy's already proven on a map with less paths to sneak around that he can cancel this Tree of Life no problem with ghouls. Even if he has to town portal away after, that's good, but as it stands, he detonates a bunch of skeletons, he buys enough space, and now he's creeping the expansion. He's doing so before his Demon Hunter gets here, of course, because this is just such a difficult camp to creep, and we're going to see the Lich coming across the map soon, and then it might even be more tricky to creep. So he's just doing it now, so he doesn't have to worry about it. But actually, just the Death Knight alone is enough to stop Foggy from creeping this, right? But still, Demon Hunter coming out. We're going to have the double lore come up. There's 1. There's 2. Priorities, priorities. We'll have Nature's Blessing soon as well. Foggy will win this? Yeah, it does look. It looks great for Foggy, right? Like, this is picture perfect so far. The Demon Hunter is going to be out. He can even gobble up the rest of his experience when the Demon Hunter is out. As we mentioned before, if the Demon Hunter is able to get all the experience from the expansion, you're in an incredible spot with this strategy. And he's not going to quite get all of the experience from the expansion, but he's going to get most of it. This is going to be close to level 2 for the Demon Hunter. And that's very good for Foggy. Assuming he gets this Taskmaster, which he should. And he will. Look, this is great. And there's a green camp right here. The Demon Hunter can very smoothly creep up to level 3. Shop coming up. Dryad's coming out soon. Nature's Blessing will be upgraded soon as well. And the tree is coming up. And see, this is a similar timing we've seen from Happy throughout the day. Is Staff of Teleportation to keep the heroes safe. Lich and Death Knight level 3 come across the map. And they're trying to delay the creeping of the Demon Hunter, delay the creeping of the expansion, kill archers. But Foggy buys enough space that he's able to do all those things and keep his heroes and archers safe. Right? Dryad's coming out. Wisps coming across to saturate. Ancient Protector to play it safe. Ancient War is somewhere. There it is. It's moving across to the expansion as well. So Foggy's very safe. Very, very safe. Just has to creep this Demon Hunter up a bit more if he can buy some time.
A player's forces are
But for now, he's in a pretty good spot. You even have a shop right next to your expansion on this map, which makes it even better because, of course, Foggy's been prioritizing heal scrolls and invulns throughout the day. And look at this access point to the shop. So good on this map for this style of strategy. I think this is a very good map. It might even be second to Amazonia for this strategy for Foggy. In the future, I think he still has some details to work out on, I'm sure, but still very, very good. Dryad's coming out. Abolish Magic coming out. Upgrades, of course, coming out. Nature's Blessing again coming out, which is important, as we see Ancient War, Ancient Protector being upgraded. Demon Hunter would get level 3 if he was able to get this entire camp. And you see he's trying to solo creep it. And Happy's about to hit a timing with his Destroyers, with his Tinker most likely. But Foggy seemingly is in a really good spot to defend. He's pumping Dryads. He's getting his 60 supply Moonwell. He's going to have level 3 Demon Hunter. He's got Wand of the Wind. He can get Staff. And then he can get an Invul and Heal Scroll from the shop. So this seems like picture perfect. Like, could Foggy be in a better position right now? I don't think so. He's getting his second shop here, right? 1 shop, 2 shop, which is what he always gets for double orb, but also for safety with potions. He's got Ancient of War, AP, his expansion saturated. He isn't greedily teching yet. He's just pumping Dryads. He's 50 supply. I don't think Foggy has been in a better position than he is right now in all 5 replays that we've watched today. Maybe in the last replay, right? But that was a different strategy from Happy. Maybe in the last replay is in a better spot. But of all the games where Happy did this strat, you know, the sort of ghoul opener to tier 3 timing with a Tinker third, Foggy hasn't been in a better spot, in my opinion.
Player's forces are under attack.
Just needs to get Invul and Heal Scroll, and he's swimming. Swimming? Yeah, sure. He's sailing. Whatever you want to call it. He's even going to have +1 attack. He even gets the Heal Scroll and the Invul, so this could not be better for Foggy. Could not be better. But the Tinker's here. He has Destroyer form. He's got Frenzy on the ghouls. Nova, but he mana burns right away. Perfect for Foggy right now. Perfect. Gonna get the shop canceled, but not the end of the world. What's food count? Yeah, let's check that. 56 for Foggy. It should be about 50 for Happy. 47. And notice he doesn't have an extra Ziggurat, but he's got enough supply that he can morph a Destroyer. Right, so he'll be 49 when he morphs a Destroyer. So pretty even. But again, fighting on his own terms, Ancient of War, Ancient Protector. He'll probably use this Wisp or a Wisp here to build a shop in the back. Would be perfect for Foggy. But he's got everything he needs. He's just going to keep producing Dryads because, again, he thinks he's being all-in. So he'll just keep pumping Dryads until he defends, and then he'll tech afterwards, right?
A player's forces are under attack.
And Happy, he sees the position of the Ancient of War, see a shop in the back. Perfect for Foggy, right? Perfect. He sees the shop in the back. He knows he can't really fight into this. He knows that Foggy has good items. And Happy just leaves. Can I change colors? No, I can't. I cannot. Oh, sorry. What? Yeah. No, I can't. See? The creeps disappear when I do that. That's so weird. Or these disappear. Look. On the map. How weird is that? But this is perfect for Foggy. He could not be in a better spot. He's held the expansion. And now all he's got to do is tech. He's 60 supply. You could argue a mistake from Foggy would be that he broke upkeep and then Happy didn't fight or engage into him. right? You could argue, because now he's above 50, whereas in the previous games we saw Foggy not going above 50, defending the expansion, and then teching. Whereas now he's 60, he's going to be above upkeep for the rest of the game most likely, has not teched yet, and he's only getting 14 gold per tick. But that's credit to Happy for not actually committing to the fight, but still forcing Foggy to break upkeep. So although this isn't ideal, I don't think Foggy made a mistake by going up to 60 this early before teching. I think this is still a good upkeep break from Foggy. Maybe this is just what Happy should do to defeat this sort of a strategy. Force him to break upkeep, go and creep the map, and then re-push with higher level heroes. But for now, I still don't think Foggy's made a mistake this game. If you guys think, do you guys think he's made a mistake? I'm not sure. Has he made a mistake? He even built the shop in the back after it got canceled and then reproduced the Wisp here. He should really, okay, now he should be going tier 3 though. See, now maybe this is a mistake. Maybe he's delayed. See, when he was 60 supply before, I think it was fair that he hadn't teched, but producing these 2 Dryads, he should be teching right now. He should be teching. So a late tech. He's also not scouting for a counter expansion. He's scouting here for a counter expansion, but he hasn't scouted here yet. But maybe this is the mistake. His tech is very late. His tech's probably late now by about a full minute. So as soon as Happy turned around here earlier when he was pushing here, and then he ran away, we've been talking about this all day. That's when Foggy techs, when he feels safe. So maybe Foggy should attack, but it's still like it seems like such a small mistake because Foggy's still got such a high supply count. He's still got his expansion running. He's still got good items. He's got good hero levels. He's got double heal scroll, double invuln soon once he buys it from the shop. But maybe he could attack early. Yeah, and of course there's an argument to be made that you only need to build Dryads with this strat, but you still need Wellspring. You still need double orb. Right, from both your shops. These are the reasons that you're teching, more so than to get bears or mountain giants. You're teching so you can get the orbs and get more moon juice, and then of course bears are like a nice luxury on top.
A player's forces are under attack.
But yeah, still not teching. So maybe this is where he went wrong this game. Maybe this is it. Have we found the reason? In the seemingly perfect game from Foggy, have we found the reason? Have we found the error? He's getting his 80 supply Moonwell, still has not teched. Sorry, let me allow that. There we go. Now he's teching, but maybe teching, could you say a minute and a half late? Maybe a minute late? At least 60 seconds, right? Arguably 90 seconds late. I think he should have teched at 60 supply before this Moonwell, before these 2 Dryads. Before the second heal scroll, the second invuln, right? You could attack much earlier. But still, he's in a good spot. He's still in a good spot. Not bad at all. Now he's getting adept. Of course, once you tech, once you prepare for the late game, still the same ideas. Do you get more moon juice for the main higher level? No, on tier 3, you're able to get an upgrade from your Huntress Hall called Wellspring, which increases the regeneration of the Moonwells and gives them a maximum of 425. So that's how you're able to get more moon juice on tier 3, is you get the upgrade there. Which is a big deal when you only have Dryads, because of course you don't have rejuvenation yet from your bears to heal up your heroes, which is why that's a big deal. But yeah, Happy went back. He crept the entire map almost, and now he's pushing again with high-level heroes, and Foggy has got only Dryads. No orbs yet, no. The orbs are a very crucial part of this army because you don't have the damage from a Naga. You don't have the damage from a Panda. So not having the orbs really, really lowers your damage. Very much lowers your damage. Now Foggy's buying time. Of course, he wants to buy time for his tech to be done, so if he can buy time all the way for his tech to be done, then get orb, then wait for a couple bears, then fight, he'll be in a good spot, but he's still going to lose a lot in waiting for that. Already burnt a heal scroll. Already lost his Ancient Protector, about to lose his Ancient of War. Still isn't close to tier tier 3 rather. And he's 76 supply. Let's take a look at what Happy is. 58. But we saw what Happy was able to do with the 20 supply advantage last game against Mass Dryads. And this time there's no tier 3 either. Last game, remember, there was tier 3 with double orb and double staff and 3 2 upgrades, although there is 2 too. And last game there wasn't a level 3 Tinker, which is very strong against Dryads. But the expansion's still being held. Is the tier 3 almost done? The tier 3 is almost done, but notice Foggy isn't fighting, which is very smart from him to just sit here and wait as long as he can. He should not engage into this. Forces the invuln. He's getting mana burns off. Like, Foggy's doing everything right here. He's really doing everything right. Still buying time. He should be... So he's got his 1 orb now. The shop died, so he can't actually get his 2nd orb, which is unfortunate. We saw when he lost his expansion on Concealed Hill in the 3rd replay, he rebuilt a 2nd shop in his main base, so he could get 2 orbs right away. Whereas this game, he lost the shop, and he only has a single orb now, despite having the gold for double orb. So there is a world in which, if he was a little bit more proactive with building another shop, he could have double orb here. And then he's got Master Bears soon. Maybe with the double orb, with the bears in front, he could probably take a fight. But he's not fighting on his own terms here because he doesn't have his AP or his Ancient of War or his shop or a Moonwell here. This expansion is essentially bare, so he might as well be fighting into Happy anywhere on the map, right? He's got Moonwells at his back, which is great, but he doesn't have a shop nearby. You know, he doesn't have an AP attacking a statue or something. He's very much just sort of fighting into Happy. And it's like an even fight. Although the supply isn't even, it's 60 against 78. We know that's not a big deal against Happy. Oh, he could have double orb. He bought it at the shop at the expand. Oh, did he? I'm sorry, I missed that. Okay, so he should go get double orb. Definitely before he fights, he should go get double orb. Let's see if he does. 100% he should go get it. He's still waiting for Master Bear training. Let's check. Okay, it's about to be done. Yeah, it was a bad TP initially, yeah. And see, he loses 1 bear before the fight. He staffs back now, so now he's going to get the double orb. Does he just give up the expansion here? Should he just give up the expansion? Loses a Dryad before the fight, loses a Bear, gets everything Disease Cloud before the fight. Not the best positioning. He's got double orb, though. Still has a heal scroll, has double invuln. Gets level 4. Notice another thing he doesn't have here. He doesn't have Hippos. He doesn't have Ancient of Winds. And although Dryads are great, if there's a level 3 Tinker on the field and a lot of Fiends, the Dryads aren't that good against the Destroyers because they can be microed back against behind the Pocket Factory, behind the Fiends, and the Dryads kind of melt, which is why you generally need just Hippogriffs. So he doesn't have Hippogriffs. He lost all of his static defense at the expansion. His tier 3 was late. He lost a Bear and a Dryad before the fight. He lost a heal scroll before the fight. And now he's fighting, but he's lacking a lot of things, which is perhaps why. Which is so crazy, because these are such little mistakes. These are such little mistakes. Maybe the tech being delayed, you could argue, isn't a little mistake, but... But, you know, maybe if he had 3-4 Hippos here, if he had that Berry loss, if he had that Dryad, if he had an AP in the back, he could help deal with the Destroyers. There are a few things. Like, this fight isn't going terribly for Foggy, but it's not going well enough. And now he's used his invuln. He's used both heal scrolls. He's got 1 more invuln, but it's on the wrong hero. This invuln gets stolen by the Lich, I believe. Heal scroll. And there's just nothing to deal with the Destroyers in the air because the Dryads do not last that long. Because Tinker is so good. Tinker is such a good hero. So a minute and a half behind, but what did he get instead? Well, I don't think he got much instead. Like, he held his expansion by going to 60 supply, which deterred Happy from pushing eventually. Well, it deterred Happy from pushing initially. And then Happy went back and crept. And then Foggy just didn't tech for about 90 seconds. So is that the mistake? And then imagine if he techs a minute and a half earlier, then he has bears a minute and a half earlier, then he has the supply to go double wind earlier, and then instead of this fight going how it does, he's already got bears, he's already got double orb, and he's already got, 2 to 4 hippogriffs, and maybe he holds here before losing his shop and his AP and his Ancient War. So is that the big mistake? He just forgot his tech. Didn't forget it, but did not tech as aggressively as he should have after holding. Perhaps Foggy should have followed Happy and Creepjack with a 66 supply. Yeah, because he went for that very early 66 supply before teching, but then he didn't do anything with it. And, generally Foggy's been trying to avoid fights, even if he has a supply advantage. But in that case, because his tech was so delayed, maybe he should have prioritized doing something with it. Creepjacking, taking a fight, trading units, hitting the main base. Maybe he should have done something with it, which would have been unorthodox from what we've seen today, but maybe that would have been the right play in this game. You might be right there. But it really does all boil down to, what he did with the tech. Why he delayed the tech and what he did with it, and how this fight went because it was delayed. But would he have had resources for the bears if he had gone earlier tech, I assume is what you're asking? I think he probably would have, yeah. I think he probably would have, because he was on 2 base the whole time. And he did get up to 80 supply pretty quickly, but he got up to 80 supply with mostly Dryads. And remember, he broke upkeep so early, too. And what was seemingly a perfect 12-minute opening game for Foggy, or 11 and a half opening, is now at 18 minutes about to be the end of VSL Cup number 63. And the end of the last game that these two played each other. This is the last game that Happy and Foggy have played against each other. They will probably play again very soon, maybe even this Monday, maybe even this weekend. No, not this weekend, but this Monday probably, if they both play ESL Cup and make it to the Grand Finals. So we'll have to wait and see. Is Foggy going to be able to make some adjustments? Is he going to change his strategy? Has Happy found a solution in sort of feinting the push to force Foggy to break upkeep and then going and creeping? Has Happy found the solution? We'll have to wait and see, guys. We'll have to wait and see, because the saga does not end here. The saga continues every time these guys play each other. They're constantly developing the meta. Foggy is constantly searching for solutions, and Happy is constantly posing problems to Foggy that he's trying to figure out. And Foggy came so close in this best of 5 to winning. We saw that was game 5 right there. That was game 5. It looked perfect. It looked perfect for him, and he still loses. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited for the future of these two playing each other. And I can't wait to watch their next series. Can't wait to watch their next series. But that's it, guys. That's it. That's the backstory. That's the 3 times Foggy either came close or was victorious in these best of 5s, with the exception of that 2017 series. We're not going to watch that, of course. That's it. That's the saga of Foggy against Happy, and that's his journey to defeat Happy, which he has done so in 3 best of 5s now, 2 recently, almost a 4th recently. Will he do so again in the future, or will Happy again go on a 3-year, 11-month streak? We'll have to find out. We'll have to find out. And that's European Warcraft for you guys right there. That's what it is. That's what it is. And this was the longest episode ever. So I'll take a few questions if there are any questions. And then we're ending. And then we're done. And we're done. That was a fun episode, though. That was a good time. I had a good time. I had a real good time. I don't understand why Happy doesn't go for an expansion. We watched 2 replays today where Happy did go for an expansion. But it is difficult when finding these replays to, in one episode of 3 hours of watching games, to sort of to show every possibility from both sides, which is why we try to pick one style from the elf and ideally like 1 or 2 styles from their opponent, to keep it very simple, because or else we're covering 20 different strategies and there's just too many details to go into, right? Thanks, Mr. Mad. Yeah, this is a fun episode. I like doing stuff more based around like history, you know, the history of 2 players and will he win? It's exciting. It's fun. This episode definitely like wrote itself, you know, because these guys are just, the story between these 2 is just so cool. And although Happy is objectively the better player and the more successful of the time, Foggy's working his way up. He's getting closer every week, so. In the last game, do you think Foggy should have gone Mass Dryad instead of Mixed Bears? You mean still going for a tier 3 tech, but instead going for just 80 supply Dryads? Maybe. I think regardless of what units he was going for, he still should have assertively gone for tier 3 earlier. And then he could have stayed on Dryads, or he could have gone into Bear Hippos, or he could have mixed in Mountain Giants. But the tier 3 is what's important for that Wellspring, for the double orb, and to go into, you know, Bears or Mountain Giants if you want to, sort of thing. It's still important to get that tier 3 up, because where else is your damage coming from? If not that double orb. If not the Panda. If not the Naga, right? Couldn't he go for 1 to 2 MGs on tier 2 and then go skin upgrade once he reaches tier 3? That is something Foggy has also done, and there was a couple replays that I looked through. I downloaded, when I started doing this episode, I downloaded about 60 Foggy against Happy games. And there was a few times when he did that. But I just picked the ones that best helped the narrative and that didn't over-confuse everything, if you know what I mean. But yeah, that's something he does. He goes 2 Mountain Giants when he breaks upkeep, and then he gets the upgrades at tier 3. But mostly he does that if his expansion's very clean, and if he's not getting all-in by a tier 3 timing. Is Keeper the Grove first the only way to go versus Undead tactic? No, actually. Foggy goes Demon Hunter sometimes on Twisted Meadows against Undead, and also on Terranus Stand and on Echo Isles, he goes Warden. Every other map, he generally goes Keeper first, yeah, but if you watch the series between Happy and Foggy, Foggy goes Warden very often against Happy, and then Demon Hunter against other Undeads on occasion. Be like Grubby versus Moon Classic in the future? Absolutely, man, if they keep competing. And on maps that Warden is not available on, yeah, he pretty much only goes Demon Hunter on TM, and then other than that, it's always Keeper. Yeah. When is next Orc chapter? It will be on, assuming there's no days off. It'll be on May 13th, Thursday, May 13th, and Human will be on Thursday, May 6th. And of course, the next episode next week. Where's the beanie? I don't know. It's my laundry basket or something. I gotta find it. Why is Warden always used solo? Because hero levels are very important for the Warden, and you get more experience on solo hero. Next week is an interview with Thorzane. And we're going to start an hour and a half earlier. So, like, for instance, right now, this show started at 1 p.m. Pacific. We're going to be starting at 11:30 Pacific. It starts at 4 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be starting at 2:30 Eastern. It starts at 10 p.m. Central European Standard Time, summertime. It'll be starting at 8:30 European Standard Summer Central Time. Thorzane interview next week. A lot of fun. Thank you guys for watching. Longest episode ever. We're almost at 4 hours. I appreciate everyone watching. Hope you enjoyed it. There's how Foggy finally beat Happy in the ESL Cup, and we hope that he continues to do so, and we hope that Happy innovates as well himself. And we will see the saga continued, hopefully this Monday, but make sure to keep tuning in to the ESL Cups, to the European tournaments, to see these two battle it out. And I will see you guys next week for next episode with Thorzane. Goodbye.